Now, the Satanists are spouting out more lies than I can remember seeing. Let's start with this so-called SpaceX initial public offering that supposedly turned Elon Musk into the world's first trillionaire. It's valued at more than 100 times their sales, most of which comes, or a large portion of which comes from the U.S. government. And basically, if you look at the details, they say, well, we're going to have power centers in space, and we're going to colonize Mars, and we're going to have 1 million humanoid robots. And remember, this company had to use actors dressed as robots because they don't actually have any robots. And somehow they're supposed to be worth more than, all the real companies around the world, like Toyota, that actually make cars. It's nonsense. It's a giant hallucination. And there's so much fakery that it's hard to know where to begin, but I know it's not going to last longer. The other thing that's crossed my radar, it's very important, is all these AI data centers are some kind of huge fraud. Watch this clip of this guy who actually runs data centers.
My name is Doug Seavey. I live at 3392 64th Street, Palo, Iowa. I've called the mayor and suggested that I get put on some kind of a committee because I'm Palo's resident expert. I build data centers. I own data centers. I built the first private data center in the state of Iowa, and everything that Google is telling you is BS. I have a data center right now that's running in Hiawatha, and I have been there 14 years and have never used 1 gallon of water. What Google isn't telling you is they don't want to use the technology because it costs more. They're going to burn through the water, and when it's done, and they don't care. Then they'll put the money in. And so I can guarantee you, if you guys want to start a committee, I'll volunteer because I'm the expert. I build them. I'm working on one right now. I'm working on one in Milwaukee. I live here, and if I told you on the phone, I called you and talked to you, and I said, you should really let me help you. I never heard anything back. And I warned you. I said, my well goes dry. I'm coming after you because I know what's going on. And you can't do this. You guys have to say no water. They don't have to have it. I mean, to give you an idea, you people, how many people in here have heard of Unity Point Health? Okay? All right? I have 100% of their IT in my data center, and I've never used a gallon of water. And I'm the most efficient data center in the world. So this is all crap. And you guys don't want to listen. In fact, I called you and said, maybe we should talk. Never heard back from you. So if you guys want to put a committee together, you can call me. I'll tell you the truth, and I can explain everything to you, how this works, because they're lying to you. Big time. There's absolutely no reason to use a gallon of water. And the same thing on the efficiency of the electricity. They're doing the cheapest way they can. All they want to do is get the gravy, and when it turns to shit, they're gone. Google is not our friend. So anybody wants to talk to me, I'll sit over here afterwards, and I'll explain it to you. So if you would like, I would be more than happy to be on your committee to work on this because I am the expert. I build them. I know.
So in other words, they're grabbing huge amounts of energy and stealing water from around the country for something that has nothing to do with data centers. And my belief is that the Khazarian mafia, the Satanists, are trying to create some kind of artificial intelligence god that will power robots. To kill us. I know that sounds crazy, but the magazine New Scientist has just reported that they deployed autonomous drones in Ukraine and they don't distinguish between, they see. And this is already being deployed. And we got to remember, the Ukraine is a crime organization. It's not a country. The Russian government spokesman and others have put out tons of proof that it's a center for... So, how much longer is this going to last? We're all wondering. How much longer can we put up with this stuff? Here's one more lie that I want to put out. Take a look at this other clip of Trump talking about Iran. The whole story about the war in the Middle East and the closing of the Straits of Hormuz and all that, it's almost entirely fake. The reality is that Israel has suffered the greatest military defeat in its history, and it's not going to last much longer. He is saying that dozens of Israel's top generals and their main command headquarters was destroyed. This is supposed to be the safest. And there was another clip I wanted to show you. It was sent to me by the T3 Freemasons, but it's apparently been deleted from the internet because it's no longer available at the link I had. But it shows Colonel Douglas McGregor saying that Iran just destroyed 400 Israeli tanks with missiles. That means that the Israeli military leadership has been destroyed, and their main ground force, their whole doctrine, which relied on tanks, is over. So Israel is not going to last much longer. And that means that the next step will be to arrest the entire, or 90% or more of the U.S. Congress. Actually, it's probably about 98%, as well as a lot of the U.S. government leadership. Now, is it going to happen? Well, we need to go after the people who are behind the puppets we see on our screens, and there are signs that this is happening. The UK Defence Minister has just resigned, and that's a good sign that the military is going to make its move against the blackmailed pedophile Keir Starmer and the fake King Charles. So that's a big move that we're seeing. Now, we also saw that the Chief of Staff of J.D. Vance, who's just an actor, has resigned, and that's another big move. And there was also some kind of lockdown in the Pentagon where supposedly poison gas or something was the excuse, but the lockdown occurred in the administrative offices. So, it is a sign. I was told by U.S. military intelligence that there was going to be some kind of military move against the fake government by the end of this month, June, and this lockdown is a sign that it could be happening. But for sure, the entire horror show that is the U.S. government has become cannot last much longer. It's amazing that it has lasted this long, but they are so hated now in the world that it cannot be much longer. For example, now only 1 out of 10 Europeans view the U.S. as an ally. So the U.S. is totally isolated. Every other country on earth also despises the U.S. under their fake regime they now have. And of course, Israel is finished, and 61% of Israelis now say they don't want Netanyahu to run for leadership. Now, of course, we know that Netanyahu was killed in an Iranian bombing, and it's just an avatar, same with Trump. But the important thing is it's the organization behind them. It's the Chabad, Lubavitch, the people who try to stay behind the scenes and use frontman like Larry Fink. We have to go after them. Gold bounties have been put out on them, and this is real. Here's an example of how real this is. Take a look at this latest Indiana Jones-style clip from Iran where they found another 200 tons of gold. So, they've just discovered about 1,000 tons of gold just recently, and that means that the Dragon family offer for gold, and it needs to be acted upon because they are destroying the West, and the West needs to get its act together. I don't want this to be a one China world, and I don't think China is necessarily a force for good. For example, I've just been informed by some Japanese sources that the Chinese have deployed a huge illegal fishing fleet that is wiped out 70% of the world's squid population, and they're hunting species that are protected, like whale sharks. And we need to have some kind of global common rules to prevent the destruction of the environment. But and if we just leave China without any checks and balances, that's not going to happen. I know that they're doing a lot for the environment inside China, but they're also raping the world's seas and they're doing other things. And that's why the West needs to get its act together, and that means taking away control of the magic money machine from these people. We have to go after their control of the hallucination they call money, which is going through the stock market. The AI boom is a case in point. There's no real market demand for all this investment. These trillions of dollars they're going to try to generate through IPOs does not have any business model that will pay for it. They're already cutting prices. Banks are refusing to loan to places like SoftBank based on their AI investments. And I've seen many big bubbles pop, and this one for sure is at the popping stage at this point. I think that people look back at this SpaceX IPO as like the end of an era, and even if they try to distribute some money to the people through welders who work for SpaceX or something, that's not the kind of financial system we want to have. We want to have the financial system, which is the process of deciding what we as a species do in the future, in the hands of people who will represent the people. In other words, we need to have the financial system working for the people, not for a tiny group of Satan-worshipping oligarchs. And the military need to be more proactive in doing this. I know that they've set up an investigation into the incredibly corrupt Trump administration, but we don't need a committee. What we need to send special forces into Mar-a-Lago and all the other places these people hang out, and Congress, and just round them up. Enough is enough. The Epstein files have made it clear that I keep urging my military contacts to do something. They say they're working on it, and there are signs it's happening, but we all need to keep pushing, and it's going to be from the bottom up before we can finally remove these scum from power. But even though it does look pretty grim in the West, the rest of the world has already thrown them off. They've been kicked out of Turkey, and Iran, and China and Russia and North Korea has kicked them out. And now India is actually preparing to use nuclear weapons to defend itself from the United States, because the rogue regime there has been trying to cut off India's supply of oil by illegally targeting their oil tankers. And that's how bad the situation is. When we have, the world's #1 sponsor of terrorism is the United States government, and it's also the world center for all sorts of organized crime. And it is a criminal deep state. It's so obvious now with all the corruption surrounding the Trump family, the insider trading. Why hasn't the military already sent special forces in and grabbed these bastards? What is preventing them from doing it? And I'll say this, it's probably because most of the generals are compromised. That means it's going to be the colonels and the captains who are going to have to take action, as well as the military police. And they have to go up the ranks, and as soon as they identify someone who's trying to prevent them from arresting the imposter who replaced your Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump, who hasn't been seen since June 2025, then they are a traitor. You must arrest them. Enough is enough. Hopefully it'll, we'll see some action at the end of the month as they promised, but we're going to have to just, all of us, keep fighting until this finally ends. But internationally, it's already game over. It's really just down to the U.S. and Israel at this point, and the few families who control the Fortune 500 companies. We're talking about maybe at the maximum of 300 individuals who have to be rounded up. And I'll keep urging all my contacts to do something about it. Hopefully this will not last much longer. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first comment to respond to today. It says, Dear Benjamin, Magmar is the new globalist leader of Hungary. He is not to be trusted. The Pope of the Vatican is not to be trusted either. The great Pope, Pope Orsini, and the rest of the Orsini family are not to be trusted as well. No one in the British royal family are to be trusted, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the British royal family under Queen Elizabeth, and they have been, fighting to protect the environment. However, after Queen Elizabeth died, she was replaced by a fake King Charles controlled by the Satanists, and this was, there's all sorts of evidence for this. So there is a problem now with the British royals. As far as Hungary is concerned, I'm going to sit on the fence on that one. I think the Habsburgs, who are in control Hungary and Spain, have been visibly moving against Israel, and they are also trying to stop the crime in the Ukraine. So I'm going to give them a bit more leeway. In my view, they're not the source of evil, but I do think there are a lot of bad people in Russia with the fake Putin, and there's a lot of Chabad there. So I would worry more about that. Now, as far as the Pope and the Orsinis are concerned, you have to. I've been listening to the Pope speaking on a trip in Spain, and he was saying that they had to do something about the child abuse by the clergy, and at least he's saying the right stuff. But of course, the fact that the Vatican Bank still hasn't pulled the plug on people like Elon Musk shows that, yeah, there's something fundamentally wrong there too. But, I'm not going to say all the elite are evil. I think we're dealing with a satanic clique within the elite, and we have to focus on them. And that means going after the obvious targets, like the people behind the fake Trump and the other, known terrorists like Zelensky and Howard Lutnick. These are the people we have to go after. Once we go after the visible ones, like Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, then we can unmask the hidden controllers and deal with them. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Interesting news recently. Xi Jinping met the leader yesterday of Laos. Unlike what you had previously said during your video, it seems as though he is still active. What do you believe is currently going on with this?
Well, what I was told was that Xi Jinping was out of public view from May 25th until early this week when he went to North Korea. And the reason was because a major purge was taking place in China, including Politburo members. And this was the result of, information gathering that took place when the fake Donald Trump and the whole U.S. criminal government visited China. They were able to monitor their entire network in China, and that's what the purge was about. So I understand, and China has changed. They ripped out all those 700 million face recognition cameras and put them in the trash. And I know there was a meeting of the secret societies, and that they've united now. And I believe they're going to move the UN headquarters to Laos. But I do talk to the Chinese, and clearly something fundamental has changed there behind the scenes. And the first thing we need to see is how much longer the regime in South Korea lasts. Then we're going to see if we have regime change in Japan. Then you'll know it's really game over in East Asia. Next question.
Hi, Ben. How do you currently feel about the longevity of Taiwan in regards to its relationship with China? Do you believe that it will continue to exist as a separate entity, or do you believe at some point it will be consumed by China? There seems, although that many people believe that they are the same country, that there's still some form of divide. What are your thoughts on this?
The Chinese royal families sort of moved to Taiwan after World War II, and they control a lot of the finances behind the scenes of both China and Taiwan. But my understanding was that Taiwan used to have their own separate secret society with about 8 million members, including many around throughout China, but that this is now merged with the Hongmen, and there's this underneath the scenes, China has now unified already, but for various reasons, for example, Taiwan was the heir to the Kuomintang government that won World War II against Japan, and the Kuomintang were put in charge of Japan after World War II, and then when they fled to Taiwan, they still kept their control over Japan. So the reason why on the surface Taiwan is still a separate country is because the whole issue of Japan still has to be dealt with, and that is happening. There's stuff going on with the Japanese royal family and with the North Koreans and with the Asian underworld that is going to cause very visible changes. I won't say when, but it's happening and not too far in the future. Next question.
Hi, Ben. There's been a lot going on in the world this week. Would like to hear your thoughts on the Belfast riots and what's going on there right now.
Well, there is clearly a huge groundswell of anger in Europe at the influx of military-age, non-European men who have led to huge increases in rapes and other crimes, and the fact that the authorities have been not taking appropriate action means that the people have decided to take action on their own. And my advice is that the police forces and military of Western Europe should round up all these military-aged men who are not in productive jobs and deport them ASAP. Next question.
I bet we have our last question for today to end it out. With everything that's been occurring lately, where do you actually see this going? To me, it feels very much like it's just too much to keep track of. And do you believe what we are in what's considered to be the end times?
I think we are seeing the end of Western civilization as it has previously existed, and that the whole several thousand-year-old monotheistic project to create a single world leader is collapsing. And in that sense, you could think of it as end times. But I think that what's going to happen is it's going to be like the planet Earth giving birth. It's going to be like a Cambrian explosion, which is all over. In other words, it'll be a very wonderful, wonderful time. Once this final infection is removed, then we're going to see exponential expansion of life, human life, animal life, plant life. There's going to be incredible things happening. And it'll happen as soon as we remove the people who have been trying to kill us and prevent humanity from reaching its full potential, and that day is soon. So I'm optimistic, but right now things look bad because we're watching the end of an empire, and it's always not, a painful phase to go through before the new birth can begin. But I guarantee you, the good guys are winning, and the planet Earth is going to be turned into heaven on earth. And I believe we'll all be able to live for thousands of years. That day is going to come soon. The technology is already there. All we need to do is remove control of the financial system from the Satanists, and this technology can be made available for all of us who want it. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week, and I hope to see you again next week.
Restored Republic via GCR update. Judy note, it's amazing what the mainstream media fails to cover, or even care about. For 4 long, shameful years, America was not ruled by its elected president. Joe Biden, barely conscious, barely coherent, was a medical mannequin dressed in suits, wheeled out for staged events and media soundbites. But behind the curtains, a covert committee, led by Barack Obama, alongside a cadre of unelected handlers, was issuing the real orders. This was not incompetence. This was treason. Biden wasn't president. He was a placeholder in a hostile occupation. Senior intelligence source, 2025 Wednesday, June 17, 2026, massive breaking scandal, Obama's shadow coup, secret committee ran the U.S. while Biden was nearly brain dead. According to President Trump, the entire point of the war in Iran was to neutralize the Iranian threat to the world, hold the deep state traitors accountable for the rogue nuclear weapons created by the Obama administration, and retrieve/test the uranium to prove it came from uranium-1, which Obama and Clinton freely supplied to the Iranian nation that hated America. Did that truth come out in the mainstream media? No more than the truth was being told about Obama and his role in trying to destroy America. But then, Obama was fake from the beginning. The Obama family is a manufactured farce that was used by cabal-controlled CIA to destroy our nation from within, said John F. Kennedy on Telegram. Are Barack Obama's children even his, or did he rent them from his campaign chairman? Chairman of the Obama Foundation, Martin Nesbitt, sure looks like Malia and Natasha Obama. He sits on the boards of directors of publicly traded companies like Centerpoint Energy, Norfolk Southern Railroad Corporation, and American Airlines Group. He was on the board of the Chicago Housing Authority, which I believe Big Mike was part of. Martin Nesbitt, close personal friend of Obama, and was also the campaign treasurer during Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. Imagine if a foreign Muslim asset infiltrated our highest level of government as president with his fake birth certificate and fake transgender wife, created a fake family to destroy our nation from within. Then Obama went after President Trump. And it was all done directly by the CIA and their media assets they own. A big mistake they're all about to realize. Judy note, below is an article I wrote 3 years ago that points out the Obama/Biden/Clinton/Pelosi criminality, that has yet to hit the national news, let alone be recognized by the general public. One would ask, why was there little or no interest in the workings of the deep state globalists? Since the purpose of the Obama administration appeared to be changing America from a democratic regime to socialist and communism. If it weren't for Trump, they would have made it. President Obama, Vice President Joe Biden and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton were also said to have used the CIA to mastermind the SEAL Team 6 and Benghazi massacres, a presumed fake killing of bin Laden, plus laundered through Iran $1.5 billion U.S. taxpayer dollars that went to terrorists. It was all said to have started sometime in 2011 when the then U.S. President Barack Obama ordered his CIA Director John Brennan to ask Iran, which had been harboring bin Laden, to set him up in Pakistan in order for Obama to get a photo trophy to help with his re-election. Bin Laden, or a body double, went down May 1 of 2011 and SEAL Team 6 about 3 months later. Iran, who had been harboring bin Laden, was asked by Brennan to set bin Laden up in Pakistan for Obama to get a photo trophy to help with re-election. Then, Iran extorted the Obama administration for $1.52 billion to keep the secret. It was paid in cash. On May 24, 2011, the Obama/Biden administration leaked operational details in which operational forces were involved in taking out bin Laden. Then, on August 5, 2011, 33 individuals, including 22 SEALs with knowledge of the bin Laden scandal, were sent on a slow, heavy Chinook helicopter to a village in Afghanistan where they were shot down like a sitting duck. A Stinger missile found in wreckage was traced back to the CIA. Benghazi happened on September 11, 2012. It was a cover for running guns and missiles to various terrorist groups. Biden's, Obama's, Clinton's and the CIA's SEAL Team 6 and Benghazi massacres. Another great deception of Obama happened on 2 Jan. 2013 when he signed into law H.R. 4310. Making it actually legal to use propaganda on the American people. Obama then used it to spy on his political enemies, specifically Donald Trump. Noted Trump attorney Sidney Powell said the Dominion software company was implicated in flipping votes from Trump to Biden, or from Republicans to Democrats in other races on the ballot. Pelosi's chief of staff was a key executive of Dominion Software, and Senator Feinstein's husband, Richard Bloom, was a shareholder. Robert Mueller FBI's provided the computers for the hammer. Back in 2019, House Intelligence Committee ranking member Devin Nunes announced that he would file at least 8 federal indictments for misconduct during the FISA report. The count was expected to go up to 30 people charged, including some in the mainstream media. The charges were thought to expose a coup to overturn the 2016 election and appeared to involve former U.S. President Barack Obama, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, and Democratic Congressman Cory Booker and Richard Blumenthal. The computer programs have come out as a result of 9/11 for the purpose of watching our enemies. They were later adopted to the voting business to be used in foreign countries, though the CIA has recently used them to spy on U.S. citizens. The powers that be tried to blackmail and leverage Montgomery to a point where he became a whistleblower. By the 2016 election, the alliance knew enough about hammer/scoreboard to step in and interfere enough so that Trump votes stayed with Trump as he was elected. That was why Clinton was so surprised she didn't win. In 2017, three-star General Thomas McInerney and Dennis Montgomery blew the whistle on how the CIA was using the NSA hammer for the Russian hoax on President Trump. The CIA, Obama and Biden were suspected of also using hammer/scoreboard software to spy on SCOTUS judges Roberts and Scalia, FISA court judges, members of Congress, Flynn, Giuliani, Trump and Trump's family. Obama worked with the Chinese Communist Party to interfere with the 2020 presidential election. On Monday, 18 Jan. 2021, the Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe dropped a bombshell report on Congress alleging that China had interfered in 2020 election, in collusion with members of the Democrat Party led by Obama. The document also reported that the Pentagon had intercepted a message from the Chinese Communist Party that showed a plan to assassinate Pentagon generals. The letter, written by DNI Ratcliffe, was labeled Views on Intelligence Community Election Security Analysis, Intelligence Community Assessment, Foreign Threats to the 2020 U.S. Elections. George Soros had funded a mass media campaign for the Biden camp to the tune of $34 billion. Soros's, and apparently the Dems and Chinese Communist Party's purposes, appeared to be to steal the election from Trump in order to install communism and destroy America. EBS alert. Very soon everyone worldwide will receive 7 Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, text messages on their cell phones, urging us to go home and stay for 10 days, though the EBS could last 3 to 6 weeks. Be prepared. During those 10 days banks will close, the internet and ATMs will not work and phones will only work for 911 calls. You can obtain a Signal app from the military which will work your phone. On TVs and radios worldwide, the EBS will play 8-hour documentaries 3 times a day for 10 days, 10 days of communication darkness. After the 10 days of communication darkness, all phones, TVs, radios and computers worldwide will be connected to the new quantum internet run on the secure Starlink satellite system. All peoples of the world will be called into redemption centers where we will receive Nizara/Jazara payments, can exchange and redeem our currency in Zim and set up secure bank accounts, identified by our own body rhythms, through the new quantum system. Banks will no longer have access to our monies. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. See possible timing. On Monday, 2nd of March, President Trump signed Executive Order 14,178, banning CBDC development and ordering a digital asset strategic reserve. Since Monday, 1st of June, redemption centers in 14 cities have been staffed and operational. Military personnel were present at each location. NDAs would be required. On Tuesday, June 9, 2026, the new gold/asset-backed quantum financial system went full global through the Starlink satellite system. On Wednesday, June 10, 2026, the old Cabal SWIFT system processed its last transaction. On Thursday, June 11, 2026, at 4:47 a.m. EST, the old banking SWIFT system died when JP Morgan executed its first live transaction through the XRP ledger. On Tuesday, June 16, 2026, Congress passed a bill that prohibited the cabal from producing the fiat digital dollar, because the new gold/asset-backed currency was already in place across 209 nations. On Saturday, June 20, 2026, bondholders and Tier 3 were expecting to be notified, exchange and have access to their monies. Between Monday 22nd of June and Sunday 28th of June, Tier 4B, US, the Internet Group, notifications will be sent out. The first wave covered 1.2 million verified accounts. On Saturday, July 4, 2026, President Trump would announce the new gold standard currency. EBS, blackout, martial law, lockdowns, Wednesday, June 17, 2026, EBS activation, quantum connected on Telegram. No time frames have been given for EBS activation. There have been many suspicions on time limits. Absolutely nothing has been set in stone about any of it. Absolutely no one knows, and it is designed that way for a reason. It will happen when it is time. When it happens, follow the EBS instructions to the letter. All we have been told by the operator who is dialed in: 1. Everyone will be home. 2. It will happen at the top of the hour. The general consensus in decoder groups is to be ready for 3 to 6 weeks. Everything has already been factored in. You'll be fine. Do not panic. Worldwide we will receive 7 trumpets, aka EBS text messages, on our phones alerting us on what is happening and urging us to tune into our TV and radios. We will be urged to go and stay at home for at least 10 days, though the EBS could last 3 to 6 weeks. Worldwide on TVs and radios the EBS will play 8-hour documentaries 3 times a day for 10 days, called 10 Days of Communication Darkness. Worldwide the internet and ATMs will not work during the 10 days. Worldwide phones will only work for 911 calls, but we can obtain a signal app from the military which will secure the phones for regular use through the new Starlink satellite system and quantum computer. The documentaries will cover topics of arrests, tribunals, fraud, corruption, pedophilia. After the 10 days of communication darkness, all phones, TVs, radios and computers worldwide will be connected to the new quantum internet run on the secure Starlink satellite system. All peoples of the world will be called into redemption centers where we will receive Nizara/Jazara payments, can exchange and redeem our currency in Zim and set up secure bank accounts, identified by our own body rhythms, through the new quantum system. Banks will no longer have access to our monies. Global currency reset. Judy note, from the below sources it appeared we could anticipate Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, being notified to set exchange appointments sometime between Monday 22 June 22 and Sunday 28 June. Wednesday June 17, 2026 marks, a bondholder was receiving his money on Thursday 18 June. Other bondholders were expecting to have their money this weekend. All of Tier 3 were going to exchange this weekend. The U.S. Mint was putting out a $1 gold coin. The new gold standard will be announced by Trump on July 4. At that time gold was expected to be worth from $1,500 to $2,000 an ounce. Silver was expected to be worth from $1,200 to $1,500 an ounce. Wednesday, June 17, 2026 update. On June 11, 2026 at 4:47 a.m. EST the old banking system died when JP Morgan executed its first live transaction through the XRP ledger. Connected to Ondo Finance. Connected to MasterCard. Routed through ISO 20022 protocol. No press conference. No announcement. SWIFT processed its last independent transaction on June 10. Since June 11, every single cross-border settlement between the 47 participating institutions has been routed through the new ledger. Not tested. Live. Processing $4.2 billion per hour as you read this. Congress passed the CBDC prohibition clause on June 16. Buried inside a housing bill. No standard loan vote. No debate. They banned the government digital dollar permanently through 2030, because the people's system is already operational and they cannot compete with it. They didn't ban CBDC because they don't want digital currency. They banned it because the replacement already exists and it's decentralized. Tier 4B notifications begin between June 22 and June 28. The first wave covers 1.2 million verified accounts. Since June 1, redemption centers in 14 cities have been staffed and operational. Military personnel are present at each location. NDAs will be required. The exchange rates you've been told are not public yet. But the structure is locked. Gold-backed. Asset verified. Quantum encrypted through Starshield satellite coverage that went full global on June 9. The man who signed Executive Order 14,178 on March 2, banning CBDC development and ordering a digital asset strategic reserve, did not do it for Wall Street. He did it for you. Every patriot who held. Every person who was called crazy. Every family that believed when the world laughed. Israel will be last. Wednesday, June 17, 2026 President Trump just dunked on Israel for committing war crimes against civilians. Israel has been fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed, and you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah that can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah, because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. Mr. Poole on Telegram. Wednesday, June 17, 2026 breaking, Benjamin Netanyahu says he will not comply with President Trump's peace deal with Iran and will strike Iran and Lebanon whenever he deems necessary. Netanyahu says he does not see eye to eye with Trump on the issue and that he is responsible for Israel's security. Netanyahu needs to be removed, EBS live on Telegram. AI mind control, Wednesday, June 17, 2026. French intelligence agency drops Palantir AI tech over U.S. dependency and spying fears. The Gateway pundit by Paul Sarin. Restored Republic via GCR. Judy note, Trump and his global military alliance have been working very hard to restore freedom to the people. Twos. June 16, 2026, Space Force, The Fall of Corporation America, 50 U.S.C. 1550, Executive Order 13818, John F. Kennedy, The Final Judgment Begins. On Monday, 15, 2026 evening, Trump signed two very important executive orders. The privately owned by Satan-worshipping bankers agency was now forever barred from tax collection and precluded from examining or prosecuting U.S. citizens to collect their taxpayer monies. The other executive order Trump signed Monday evening opened Federal Reserve payments to digital assets and non-bank institutions without a banking license, a banking-less system. Some time back, Trump had taken over ownership of the privately owned by Satan-worshipping bankers Federal Reserve and transferred our taxpayer monies to the new U.S. Treasury under ownership of the people. Why were these EOs necessary? They made our gold/asset-backed monetary system, which had been functioning under the deep state cabal on fiat currency, valid, binding and legal. The national financial system was already under the gold/asset-backed global quantum financial system, which went live on May 8, 2026 in 209 countries. On twos. June 16, 2026 JAG announced that former IRS Director Lois Lerner has been convicted by a military tribunal on charges including treason and fraud. Prosecutors alleged she used the IRS to target conservative groups and activists, causing widespread financial harm. After hours of testimony and evidence presentations, the tribunal returned a guilty verdict and reportedly recommended execution by hanging. Project Odin martial law on Telegram. It was now just a matter of time for those who had suffered under the deep state fiat system to receive their freedom and just rights. One of many was the case of Ken Cromar, who presently sat in the Florence prison, having been found guilty of living in his own fully owned home and after proving in a federal tax court that he owed no monies to the IRS. Despite the ruling in Cromar's favor, the IRS sold his home at auction and threw away all his possessions including expensive camera equipment he used to make a living. Ken recently wrote from prison, "I'm learning to be more forgiving of the Supreme Court who denied hearing my case. We know we're right, and believe our cause of exposing the IRS will ultimately prevail." Janine's appointed public defender Jack Blakely has ignored all of Janine's phone calls and has let her sit in jail and not responded to her calls, nor visited her even one time. Important, this Thursday, June 18 at 8 a.m. Judge Stephanie Williams is having a non-oral hearing about Janine's case, more judicial corruption, non-oral, aside from the lie stating that Janine was seen by her June 2. This never occurred. All Janine's rights have been violated by this court by this sheriff's department. We need someone to do the following, but please know that the Guernsey County Court of Common Pleas is even more corrupt and is responsible for what started this all in 2019. Judge Patton and Judge Bennett are both severely corrupt and involved. To report someone being held unlawfully or without legal cause in Southern Ohio, you should immediately petition for a writ of habeas corpus through the local court system and report the unlawful detention to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation or federal authorities. 1. Reporting an unlawful jailing in Ohio involves taking both immediate legal action and administrative steps. 1. File a petition for a writ of habeas corpus, immediate release. A writ of habeas corpus is the primary legal mechanism to force an agency to justify why an individual is incarcerated. 1. Where to file? You can file this petition in the Court of Common Pleas in the county where the person is currently being held, the District Court of Appeals, or the Supreme Court of Ohio. 1. 2. Action: review the Ohio Public Defender habeas petition packet for the exact forms and instructions required to challenge unlawful imprisonment pro se. 1. 2. Report civil rights violations, if the unlawful detention involves an abuse of power, misconduct by law enforcement, or a violation of constitutional rights. 1. Federal level, submit an online report directly to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division or your local FBI field office. State level, file a public corruption or law enforcement misconduct tip with the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation. 1. Do. 3. Report agency misconduct, if the unlawful jailing is the result of abuse, misconduct, or wrongful acts by specific jail staff, corrections officers, or police. File a formal grievance or contact the Internal Affairs Division of the specific detaining agency, for example, the local county sheriff's office or local police department. 1. Do. C. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. 2s. June 16, 2026, the MH370 cover-up exposed, underground bases, U.S. Space Force surveillance and Trump's war on the hidden cabal. 2s. June 16, 2026, Muslims went crazy after Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this: "Radical Islam doesn't want just a small caliphate in Iraq or Syria. They see the United States as the greatest evil on earth and seek to dominate the entire West. Radical Islam is revolutionary, it wants endless expansion, terrorism, assassinations, and total control. They hate America, Europe, Israel, and every Muslim nation that partners with us. Orlando, Pensacola, and domestic attacks prove it. Radical Islam is a clear and imminent threat to the world." F2s. June 16, 2026. Attention, he signed last night, while you were sleeping, 2 executive orders. One killed the IRS. The other opened the Federal Reserve payment to digital non-banking, Tier 4B ISO 2022. Christian B. Wallace on Telegram. One kills the IRS. Always. DOJ language, forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting. That's not a pause. That's a death certificate. The other is opening the Federal Reserve payment rail to digital assets and non-bank institution, without a banking license. Read that one more time. He just opened the door for a banking-less system. Why would you kill the IRS unless the collection system has already been replaced? QFS went live May 8, 2026 in 209 countries. Running alongside SWIFT since midnight. Each sovereign citizen is being provided with a quantum ledger linked to their birth certificate bond. The value they stole from you the day you were born. Since 1933, your birth certificate has been collateral. Your social security number is a bond tracking number. Every American is worth $100,000 to $450,000 in stolen compound interest, illegal debt and confiscated labor value. Jazar Article 21, Debt Nullification, is computing now. All mortgages, all of them student loans. All credit cards. As you read this, every medical bill charged with unlawful compound interest since 1971 is being calculated and encoded into your QFS ledger. The gold is at Fort Knox. 147.3 million ounce, but the audit team that entered March 14 under Executive Order 14,271 found more. Gold repatriated from the Vatican Bank, from the Bank of England. From Basel. Not in any public ledger, anywhere. Ref, Knox Audit 2026-0314 Sigma. Total value, not $692 billion. $43 trillion. That is the gold behind your new money. I want to see the gold. Trump said he wants to get you to ask why. The answer: the gold is there, and $43 trillion more, and it is yours. Tier 4B notifications began 96 hours ago. Redemption centers were set up at 800 locations. Waiting for one sign, Trump walks into Fort Knox on camera and opens the 20-ton door. He opens it, the EBS goes off. QFS gets locked by EBS flames. The QFS locks your debt disappears. When your debt is gone, you are free. They kept you a slave for 53 years. Every dollar you owed was a lie. Every interest payment was theft. The guy who said they steal a lot is about to prove it on live TV. The door opens one time. G2s. June 16, 2026. Bruce, the big call: since 1871 we have not been a sovereign nation. We have been under British Admiralty law. The celebration in Washington, D.C. on Flag Day Sunday 14th of June symbolized that we were now a sovereign nation and not under rule of the UK. Over the weekend, very good sources have said Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, could look for exchange appointment notification by Wednesday or Thursday 16, June 17, 2026. Funds for exchanges have been backed, moved and put in place for exchanges. The new U.S. node cash was available at the redemption centers. Guru Information and Intel J. 2s. June 16, 2026. The tapes exist. They told you the Situation Room was the most secure space on Earth. No phones. No recordings. No leaks. Ever. Until now. Someone recorded everything. The meetings on Iran. The meetings on the strikes. And the one meeting they never wanted you to know about, 107, JFK Jr., on Telegram. March 14, 2026. 2:17 a.m. 6 people in the room. Vance. Hegseth. Patel. A CIA liaison whose name I cannot print. One Secret Service detail outside the door, removed at Trump's request. The subject, the Epstein files. Not the redacted ones. Not the 53 names Massey is pushing through Congress. The full architecture. The client list. The flight operations. The funding channels. Names that would collapse 3 European governments and end 2 American political dynasties overnight. Trump spoke 7 words on that tape. Released them all. Every single name. The room went silent. Now here's what the media won't tell you. They're calling it a leak. They're saying Trump is furious. They're saying he launched a mole hunt. He planted the mole Operation Sunlight. The book drops June 23. Regime change by Haberman and Swan. 1,000 interviews. But the tapes weren't interviews. They were evidence. Delivered on purpose. Through a channel that cannot be traced back to the Oval Office. The mole hunt is theater. For them. So the names on that list think they still have time to run. They don't. The media is doing exactly what he wanted, amplifying the story. Making it impossible to bury. By June 23, every newsroom on Earth will be covering this book. And when they open it, they won't find politics. They'll find names. Citroom 0314217 Sunlight Active Epstein Full 0623. You asked me months ago, when will the names drop? This is your answer, not through Congress. Not through the courts. Through a book that 200 million people will read. Undeniable. Unredacted. Unstoppable. 8 days. The clock is live. They cannot stop what was recorded. What we think we know as of Wednesday, June 17, 2026. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on Face the Nation. Americans should expect similar operations like Venezuela in places like Ecuador and Guatemala. It's called the America's Counter-Cartel Coalition. We're forming it with partner governments all around Central and South America to go after, defeat and destroy foreign terrorist organizations. For 47 years, the Rothschild, who has controlled European banking from Geneva since at least 1815, owned the sky through a network of 22 atmospheric modification stations that could steer hurricanes, trigger droughts, manufacture floods and create earthquakes. Their climate throne was funded through a labyrinth of NGOs, carbon credit exchanges, and green energy foundations. Last Wednesday, the final station was seized by a joint military operation involving 6 nations. Hurricane Katrina was caused by a transmission burst from the Marine Biology Research Center in the Caribbean. The 2010 Haiti earthquake, identical frequency signature originating from a station in Venezuela that was disguised as a telecommunications relay. The 2011 Fukushima earthquake, signature traced to a naval vessel belonging to a shell company in the Cayman Islands under a Rothschild family trust. Why? Because weather controls everything. Food prices, insurance markets, government stability, migration patterns, election outcomes. Climate change was real, but caused by 22 machines owned by one family that were now silent. Sunday, June 14, 2026. The FBI thwarted an explosive drone attack against Sunday's UFC Freedom 250 event on the White House South Lawn and have already taken 5 suspects into custody, it was revealed Tuesday. The multi-phase terror attack allegedly involved using explosive-laden drone aircraft to strike buildings in the vicinity of the event, sparking mass panic and driving the fleeing crowd toward a sniper team poised to pick them off, officials told Fox News Digital. A second wave of attackers then allegedly planned to storm the White House gate, officials said, JFK awakening on Telegram. 2s. June 16, 2026, breaking special report, Mike Pompeo's confession, at 2. Mike, who was MI6's inside man against Donald Trump. 2s. June 16, 2026, breaking report, Katie Johnson, the woman who accused Trump of raping her at age 13 in a lawsuit that was later withdrawn, is reportedly now facing criminal charges. Exclusive. Anti-Trump judges tied to the previous DOJ have run a secret network through the American Inns of Court. Hidden meetings and corrupt rulings targeted President Trump. The system is rotten and President Trump is holding these traitors accountable. A major revelation emerged in recent months as President Donald J. Trump leads America's return to law and order. Anti-Trump judges and deep state operatives used the invitation-only American Inns of Court to hold secret meetings, coordinate with former DOJ figures, and influence rulings against the president behind closed doors. The American Inns of Court follows British legal models but operates with secret meetings and hidden membership. The Edward Bennett Williams Inn in Washington, D.C. stands at the center. Members erased online records yet still meet in federal courtrooms and invite DOJ officials to join judges who ruled against Trump. Key members include Judge James Boasberg as president, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson as vice president, Judge Amit Mehta as secretary who hosted meetings in her courtroom, Judge Beryl Howell, and Chief Justice John Roberts as honorary bencher of the UK Middle Temple. Boasberg organized the private gatherings and participated in Trump-Russia surveillance matters. Jackson advanced progressive causes. The group awarded Judge Beryl Howell for her harsh January 6 sentences. DOJ involvement stands exposed. Earlier this year the EBWN held a meeting on BOP custody and release inside Judge Mehta's courtroom. Attendees featured DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz, Deputy Assistant Attorney General Seth Eichenholz, Chief Deputy AG Seth Rosenthal, and about 150 lawyers and judges. Such secret coordination between branches violates ethics. Chief Justice Roberts maintains ties to the Middle Temple in the UK, which receives Soros funding for fellowships. Soros has supported progressive prosecutors and judges nationwide. Roberts defended Boasberg when questioned. This active network of anti-Trump judges, Soros-linked elites, and DOJ insiders coordinates through private clubs. Their pattern of rulings against the president connects to this structure. Investigations must begin. Resignations are required. Americans must support President Trump's fight to drain the swamp. They didn't need armies. They didn't need assassinations. They needed rain, or the absence of it, in the right place at the right time. $4.2 trillion in natural disaster damages since 1979. Insurance payouts flowing to reinsurance companies owned by the same family that caused the disasters. Betting on the destruction they created. Collecting on the suffering they manufactured. The 22 stations are now under Alliance military control. The technology isn't being destroyed, it's being repurposed. Not as a weapon. As a restoration tool. Deserts that were artificially created through 40 years of suppressed rainfall, being reversed. Agricultural regions that were systematically droughted to create food dependency, being restored. Ocean currents that were disrupted to alter fishing economies, being normalized. The planet's weather is returning to its natural state. For the first time in half a century, the rain will fall where it's supposed to fall. The sun will shine where it's supposed to shine. The seasons will behave as they did before someone decided to play God with a frequency transmitter. Climate change was real. But it wasn't caused by your car. It was caused by 22 machines owned by one family. And those machines are now silent. Code, Climate Throne, 22 stations/freak signature/Sky Freed. They blamed you for the weather they manufactured. They taxed you for the carbon they weaponized. The sky is free now. And so is the truth. Every natural disaster you mourned was a business decision.
Hello Patriots, I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR compiled by Judy Byington. EBS and martial law alert. World's largest military sting operation underway. Doing mass arrests in over 32 countries, 10 to 12 day blackouts soon, to change over to a new republic, new gold asset-backed economy, new legal system under common law, new health system under med beds, new political system, new education system. A free quantum space Q phone will be provided to all people on Earth to be used for free internet connectivity, texting, calling, banking, voting, and much more. Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. President John F. Kennedy. Judy note, urgent EBS alert, 10 to 12 day blackout and martial law phase could start tonight, Monday, June 15, 2026. According to martial law and Telegram, EBS protocols were engaged around 7 p.m. on Monday, June 15, 2026, and the clock would strike on the old world at midnight. If not, other sources say the EBS could go off Wednesday, June 17th or Thursday, June 18th. Whatever happens, you are advised to prepare your homes for the coming 10 days of darkness, guided by EBS broadcasts. Stay indoors when called. Breaking. Elite panic as QFS overrides file controls and SR activates worldwide. Cell broadcast push incoming. Stay home, stay calm, stay in prayer. Starlink will carry the truth documentaries. World Economic Forum, crimes, biolabs, election fraud, child rescue operations, elite tribunals. Sunday, June 14th, 2026. Everything that happened publicly yesterday, June 14th, 2026, UFC Freedom 250 represented, for many observers, the symbolic end of the former maritime law system under satanic occult rule and the beginning of a republic under the new American order and the law of the land. Ezra A. Cohen on Telegram. What the mainstream media was not reporting, how close we were to being obliterated in a nuclear war with Iran. U.S. strikes on Iran uncovered a 5,000-mile master tunnel system that ran from Iran deep state bunkers into hidden U.S. coastal domes along the coasts of California and Florida. Presently, Trump's U.S. Army forces were raiding both ends of the tunnels. On Sunday, June 14, 2026, Flag Day and President Trump's birthday, he made a military strike in Venezuela that eliminated the most wanted gang leader in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. housed a vast network of underground cities, military bases, and deep state tunnels from Edwards Air Force Base to Vandenberg, 29 Palms, Catalina Island, Tonopah, Area 51, numerous COG facilities, Arizona sites at Wikiup, Page, Superstition Mountains, Fort Huachuca, the Grand Canyon, which conceals ancient underground cities with hundreds of rooms and Egyptian-style artifacts. Sedona's vortices allegedly cover a Lemurian colony and reptilian bases under Boynton Canyon. California's Edwards Air Force Base links via 50-mile tube shuttles to the massive Tehachapi Anthill Complex. This facility, over 2 miles deep, houses cloned humans, gray aliens, reptiloids, and teams conducting genetic experiments and mind control. China Lake and Deep Springs function as major sites for alien-human bioalteration programs and electromagnetic conflicts. Mount Shasta hides tunnels to UFO bases in the Lemurian Telos City. Denver International Airport in Atlanta hosts enormous Illuminati underground complexes. These coast-to-coast networks enable deep state and regressive alien collaborations on experiments against humanity. On Friday midnight, 12th of June, 2026, through an act of Congress, the deep state lost its eyes. They cannot query you anymore. They cannot listen without military authorization. They cannot use national security as a shield for political persecution. On that same Friday, Trump signed National Security Presidential Memorandum 12, transfers control of all national security systems to a restructured military intelligence command under NSA oversight. Every government server, every classified network, every intelligence node was now controlled by the military. Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everybody should listen to that. Thomas Massie has invoked Article 1, Section 6 of the United States Constitution. Speech and debate clause. Absolute immunity. No prosecution. No injunction. No court in America can stop him. Read the names of billionaires, heads of state, media owners, tech founders, 3 sitting members of Congress, 2 former intelligence directors, and 1 name that will collapse a $400 billion empire overnight. The names include people still on television, still running companies, still attending state dinners, still advising governments. They tried everything to stop this. The DOJ offered Massey a classified briefing on June 3rd, a bribe disguised as national security. He refused. On June 7th, his chief of staff's phone was accessed remotely. On June 11th, a sealed motion was filed to invoke executive privilege. Denied. You were told the Epstein files were released. You were told Transparency won. That was the redacted version. What you received was 9,400 pages with 2,317 redactions. Names replaced with black bars. Flight logs with rows deleted. Testimony with entire paragraphs removed. What Massey has is the unredacted original, obtained through a constitutional mechanism that bypasses DOJ, FBI, and the classification system entirely. This is why they panicked. There was a Situation Room meeting on July 17, 2025, composed of senior advisors without the president present. The question on the table, how do we manage this? The answer they chose? Delay. EBS blackout martial law lockdowns. The quantum space Q phone, or called Pi phone, will be used for internet connectivity, texting and calling, banking, voting, and much more. Tier 4 BISO 20022 on Telegram. Q phones will be provided free of charge to all people on Earth. The QFS will establish a private internet network on triple code and maybe an 8G network for SATCOM. The Q phone features a 3D interactive holographic display. It will be one of the main credit tools and most urgent expenditures in the daily life for retail consumption and for domestic and international commercial business, and is a subserver to abuse and control the quantum system with Stellar plus Starlink. The Q phone is developed and manufactured in Germany and UK with final software updates in the US. This is a 3D phone and it is at the highest quality. It's a $500 billion manufacturing business in 3 countries, and some other countries like Japan, they are assembled in different warehouses throughout the world. We're not getting any more spy phones. Then we can get rid of all those ugly and dangerous cell towers. Monday, June 15th, boom. Trump federalizes 200 Oregon National Guard troops to expose deep state operations behind ICE attacks and Antifa-controlled Portland. Quantum connected on Telegram. Portland has become the last stronghold of a collapsing regime. For months, the ICE facility has been under direct assault by Antifa cells, backed by silent approval of state and city authorities. These were not random protests, they were battlefield operations. Until now, the federal government was blocked from intervening. That ended this week. President Trump ordered Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to federalize 200 Oregon National Guard troops. The order places them under Northern Command for a 60-day deployment, securing ICE personnel and federal property. This is not politics. This is national security. Oregon's Democrat Attorney General immediately sued to block it, knowing exposure is imminent. For years, state leaders covered deep networks, foreign NGO pipelines, intel relays, biometric surveillance grids, installed under public safety and smart city programs. Antifa's street chaos was a distraction. The ICE facility was targeted because it intercepted trafficking cartels and cross-border crimes. Antifa surrounded it to shield the real ops inside Portland. Weapons in agitators' hands were no homemade tools. They were military-grade lasers, encrypted comms, jamming tech, drone systems, all traced back to foreign sponsorship routed through nonprofits, protected by city officials. Trump acted and the deep state countered with lawfare. The lawsuit is a stall tactic to scrub evidence and move assets before federal troops arrive. Governor Tina Kotek parroted the old 2020 script, calling it illegal occupation. That denial is the tell. You don't panic unless your defenses are collapsing, and they are. Black Hawks and surveillance drones already circle the south waterfront. Federal eyes are mapping escape routes and command structures. A September 28th encrypted call to action confirmed renewed Antifa direct action orders, diversions to cover leadership pullouts. Northern Command's mission isn't just to guard ICE, it's to capture handlers, disrupt surveillance grids, and secure data vaults beneath Portland, holding biometric mapping software built with foreign engineered systems. If exposed, it proves Americans were tracked without consent. Trump isn't just sending troops, he's dismantling the hub. Portland was the prototype of globalist control. Media, cover, proxy militias, lawfare shields, foreign collusion. Now it's being dismantled in real time. Title 10 is in effect. These troops answer to Northern Command. Northern Command answers to Trump. The last stronghold is falling. Portland is just the beginning. Possible timing. EBS alert, 10 to 12 day blackout and martial law phase starting tonight, Monday, June 15, 2026. Thursday, June 19, 2026. EBS signals will prepare the world for 10 days of darkness. White Hat sources confirmed that the world's largest military sting operation with mass arrests now active in over 32 major countries, targeting UN globalist networks and deep state crimes. Timeline according to this is the fake Val Thor, not the real one that is on my channel, Commander Thor, that you guys talk to on Telegram and in the comment section. That's not him. There's one that's fake, and so just heads up on that. What we think we know as of Tuesday, June 16, 2026. Monday, June 15th, Tim Barton, a real estate investor with $400 million in assets, says the Biden FBI raided and arrested him because he was an outspoken Donald Trump supporter. He was dragged out of my bed at 5 a.m. by the FBI, and they put leg irons on his legs before walking him out. He says the reason for this was he was a whistleblower and found that Chinese investors were suspiciously moving money around and buying American properties. He was arrested. He says he was targeted even though he was a whistleblower just because he supported Donald Trump. I found he is a political donor of Donald Trump. That's clearly the real reason for being targeted. In 1776, the Illuminati was founded in Bavaria. The Rothschild banking empire began its global expansion. The American Revolution broke out. Tartaria began to disappear from the maps. All in the same year. Coincidence? Tartaria was not a myth. It was a vast, ancient civilization with advanced free energy technology, great architecture, using sacred geometry, a harmonious way of living with the natural. Monday, June 15th, 5 anti-Trump judges exposed as members of a secret, invite-only judicial club. The American Inns of Court. Hidden meetings, DOJ insiders showing up since. Monday, June 15th, disclosure, declassified and authorized, the explosive truth about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Monday, June 15, 2026. The war is over. The strait is open. The oil flows. While you were sleeping, the world changed. Q on Telegram. At 9:47 p.m. Eastern on June 14, 2026, his 80th birthday, the President of the United States posted 6 sentences that ended a war, reopened the most important shipping lane on Earth, and collapsed the price of oil in under 4 minutes. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow. Those were not improvised words. That was a prearranged signal. Within 90 seconds of that post, 3 aircraft carrier groups began withdrawal protocols simultaneously. The USS Eisenhower, the USS Lincoln, the USS Truman synchronized to the second. You do not coordinate 3 carrier groups in 90 seconds unless the order was already given. The deal was signed before he posted. What they're telling you, a memorandum of understanding brokered by Pakistan. What actually happened? A back-channel agreement finalized on June 8th in Muscat, Oman, 6 days before the public announcement. The signing in Switzerland on Friday is theater. The real signatures were placed in Muscat by individuals whose names will never appear in any press release. Iran did not agree to dismantle its nuclear program because of sanctions. Iran agreed because they were shown what comes next. The same presentation, the same room, the same 4-star general who briefed Pyongyang in 2018 before Kim crossed the DMZ. The same words. You have seen what we can do. Now see what we will do. They chose survival. 60-day window, full enriched uranium stockpile elimination, IAEA inspectors with unrestricted access, not the theater of 2015, real access. Military sites included. And in exchange, $147 billion in frozen assets released, sanctions lifted, oil exports resumed immediately. You were told this was impossible. 4 indictments, 2 impeachments, 91 felony charges, a raid on his home. They took his passport. They froze his accounts. They told you he was finished. Today, he ended a war from his living room on his 80th birthday. No army invaded. No city was bombed. No American soldier died. 1 man, 1 post, 1 signal. The oil markets collapsed 9% in 11 minutes. Bitcoin surged past $106,000. Gold dropped $47. The entire global financial architecture shifted in the time it takes to read his post. This is not politics. This is not diplomacy. This is the most powerful human being alive, demonstrating that he answers to no one, and nothing can stop what was set in motion. June 8th, Muscat. June 14th, Signal. June 20th, Switzerland. July 4th, you will understand everything. Code Hormuz open, Muscat 0608, 3CG withdrawal, signal birthday, phase complete. On Friday, June 12th, at exactly 5:21 p.m. Eastern, the United States Department of Commerce issued an emergency directive to Anthropic, the company behind the most advanced AI ever built. The order, suspend all access immediately, New World Order on Telegram. They shut it down because it saw the same thing. 2 systems, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, were pulled offline within minutes. No warning, no congressional vote, no public explanation beyond 2 words. National security. They told you it was about export controls, about foreign nationals. That is not why it was shut down. I'm going to tell you what happened in the 72 hours before that order was issued. On June 9th, a classified evaluation was conducted at a facility in Maryland. Mythos 5 was given access to a dataset that has never been made public, a dataset originally compiled under Project Stargate. Between 1972 and 1995, remote viewing session transcripts, temporal probability matrices, pattern recognition data that the CIA spent $20 million collecting and then told the world was inconclusive. The AI did not find it inconclusive. Within 14 minutes of processing, Mythos 5 produced an output that matched, with 99.7% correlation, the same convergence point that Project Looking Glass operators reported in 2012. All timelines lead to the same outcome. The AI confirmed what the machine showed 30 years ago, what the operators saw, what they classified, what they buried. What they told you was fiction. It is not fiction. The output was flagged at 11:47 p.m. on June 9th. By 6 a.m. June 10th, the National Security Council had been briefed. By noon, the directive was being drafted. By June 12th, it was dead. They did not shut it down because of China. They did not shut it down because of export law. They shut it down because an artificial mind confirmed what human consciousness saw decades ago. And they cannot allow that confirmation to exist in a system accessible to 200 million users. You were told future proves past. Now you understand what that means. One man was briefed on the original Looking Glass output before he ever announced his candidacy. He was shown the convergence. He was shown the outcome. He was told, every timeline leads here. You are the constant. That man is now sitting in the Oval Office on his 80th birthday. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing can be left to chance. The outcome is not a hope. It is not a prediction. It is a mathematical certainty confirmed by both human consciousness and artificial intelligence. They can shut down every machine on Earth. They cannot shut down what is coming.
2012 was never about apocalypse.
Sunday, June 15th, the media will tell you it is a birthday party. They will show you the octagon on the South Lawn. They will talk about UFC fighters and celebrity guests. They will reduce today to entertainment. They are wrong. What is happening today is not a celebration, it's a demonstration. Mr. Poole, the final chapter on Telegram. In the last 72 hours, one man authorized the following: a military strike in Venezuela that eliminated the most wanted gang leader in the Western Hemisphere. No warning, no negotiation. Peace agreement with Iran, signed today. That ends a war, reopens the Strait of Hormuz, and restores global oil flow. No money exchanged, no concessions, signed on HIS terms. 92-foot steel structure erected on the White House South Lawn, the first combat arena ever built on presidential grounds in 250 years of American history. All in the same day, his 80th birthday, Flag Day, America's 250th anniversary. You think this is coincidence? A source close to the National Security Council. The Iran signing was ready on Thursday. It was held until Sunday. The Venezuela strike was greenlit Wednesday night. Execution was delayed until Friday evening for maximum 72-hour media cycle alignment. The UFC structure was approved in March. Every element of June 14th was choreographed to land simultaneously. This is not a president celebrating his birthday. This is a commander-in-chief demonstrating to every nation on earth on the same day that he can kill your leaders, end your wars, and throw a fight on his front lawn while doing it. 4 criminal indictments, 2 impeachments, 1 FBI raid, 91 felony charges. They took his passport, they took his mugshot, they took the world. He would die. Today he's 80 years old. He's in the White House. His enemies are in courtrooms, and the world is watching a man who cannot be stopped. The date was chosen. The sequence was planned, and the message is clear. Nothing and no one can touch him. Monday, June 15th, the weather war has started. Quantum connected on Telegram. In the last 10 days, unexplained storms have struck the Midwest and California with identical frequency patterns detected by military satellites. These events were not natural. They were targeted atmospheric attacks. Newly released data shows that HAARP and private climate modification facilities were active hours before each storm began. Temperature anomalies spiked above normal levels, and electromagnetic pulses were recorded in the stratosphere. Space Force monitoring teams confirm that weather is now a battlefield. Counter-frequency units have been deployed to neutralize energy signatures coming from remote installations in Alaska, Greenland, and Northern Europe. The true purpose behind these storms is control. Manufactured floods and droughts are used to destroy supply chains, manipulate food markets, and force populations into dependency on global systems. That era is ending. The military has now initiated Operation Rain Shield. New scalar technology is being activated to restore natural weather patterns and purge artificial electromagnetic influence from Earth's atmosphere. The war is no longer fought on land. It is being fought in the sky above your head and in the air you breathe. Please direct any and all chemtrail reports to the official chemtrail information site.
Next up, for over a decade, many have spoken about a coming solar event, a flash from the sun, and a major shift for humanity. Now, space weather observers are monitoring a coronal mass ejection expected to brush Earth between June the 16th and 17th. Is this just another solar storm, or will this be the instigator of 10 days of darkness? Well, they're saying from the 24th of June to the 4th of July to follow. Let's see.
Well, I'll tell you right now, from the bottom of my heart, 6, 7 years ago, I thought this was all woo-woo. And then suddenly you start to realise there's something to it. There's solar flashes going on, there's energy, there's frequency. You start to realise that frequency matters, energy matters. And I suppose the easiest way to explain it to you is sometimes when you meet somebody, you go, oh, they're nice. Oh, I didn't like them. It's because they're not on the same frequency as you, or you're not on the same frequency. Or you meet somebody that is on the same frequency as you. All of this is to do with energy. all to do with frequency. When you start to comprehend energy and frequency, solar flashes, the Schumann resonance, do your research. You'll start to realize why you have good days, why you have bad days, why some days nothing goes right, and some days everything goes right. And then you can manage your expectations and manage your own ability, that when you're banging your head against the wall, the least painful thing to do is to stop banging. And there's other days when there's doors that just open in front of you and you learn to walk through them. It wasn't the door that you were expecting. So don't just blank things as woo-woo. Look at them and try and find out. And what's happening in the world right now is the whole world is changing. And people can feel it, but they don't know quite why or what.
On O'Savin, we're going to have Josh Reed come in here and join us in a little bit. Hello, everybody. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secret. But as you see, Juan's got an unusual view. Usually he has like spectacular views, but this time we thought we'd mix it up a little bit and get the dumpster dive view.
Yeah, just checking to see what's going on here. We're doing some little dumpster diving here. I heard, look, a lot of these Democrats are trying to hide out right now. Did you see what they're doing to Pullith in Colorado? Because he let Tina out. Let's see if he's in here. No, they've already escaped. Nothing in there. Okay. Because he commuted Tina's sentence to time served plus 3 years on parole. Oh my gosh. The Democrats have decided that he can no longer be given any awards. He cannot appear at any Democrat function.
Wow.
He is persona non grata, anything to do with the Democrat Party. So as the Democrat governor of Colorado, he's completely ostracized from anything to do with the party. They can't have an event, a convention. They can't award him for, doing something nice in the world. Nothing. He is out. And but that'll go for so long, and you have to understand the context of that. So he actually talked with Trump numerous times while they were trying to work through this. Trump was saying, release her. And he's saying, look, if I do, it's problematic this way and I can't do that. So this agreement to get Tina free by commuting the sentence, he knew that Trump was coming. He had kind of gotten, if it's not done by the end of the month of May, then we're coming in a different way. And I was aware of what was potentially going to happen there. We were saying take extreme measures. You said you would. It's too long. It's too much. And so he responded to that. And still, they said by the end of the month, he still waits till the end of the month before she gets to get out. So she's got to do this extra 2 more weeks in prison while they're, working the problem to get her free. So anyway, that's kind of the routine. And by the way, we'll be honoring Tina in some unique, interesting ways at the event there in mid-June.
Oh, good.
That is shaping up to be something stunning. And anybody in the audience that's thinking about it, you better think fast. Showing the movie Dark Horse, world premiere of the movie. Normally, they don't like to do it anywhere except a theater where it can be the best. So I actually had to go secure a proper LED screen, high resolution screen.
Wow.
24 foot by 12 something high, and for the Ahern, and so it'll show the movie properly. It'll actually do what needs to be done for this movie to make it present the way it needs to be presented. Awesome sound. I mean, we got Edward Bolsonaro's committed, the son of the president of Brazil. The movie's about. He is going to be at our event speaking. The producers, all the key people that are involved in this, getting this out to the world. Hollywood doesn't want a movie like this to be presented. They don't like it. But so one of the big, monster groups that put out the media that we see, movies, television, things like that, approached the person that's running the marketing thing. And by the way, this is the person that Mel Gibson says is the best in the business. Probably 30 billion in sales, of movies and television like that he's personally promoted. Nobody else is even in the same category. Jim Caviezel says this is his best acting role that he's, performance that he's been able to do so far from his skill set. So this is a big deal on this movie. If you like Sound of Freedom, you're going to like this movie.
Absolutely.
But the interesting thing about it is that make sure this goes away. My chief of staff trying to reach me. Within what this movie is the whole theme though about election fraud and elections. At the conference, we're going to have the people that actually briefed Tulsi, briefed Homeland Security, briefed the president's people around the president, all the way back even in 2024, coming up in the election, exactly how this is being done. And so they'll be presenting at the conference. That's on day 3. It's going to be epic. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. So, you'll get a hell of a treat if you get to be there. So anyway,
that's great because when Bolsonaro was running, I was covering his election. I covered his his presidency and so forth, and a lot of the Brazilians came into my show and so forth, and were very they loved it. They were like so glad that I was informing the American public, and then when he had those problems, they were even more generous and very thankful for just telling everybody what was going on, because like you said, the press, it just destroys this. They don't cover it at all. So this movie, I think, has incredible potential to inform a lot of people. It's going to be great.
Well, I've got several people coming up from Brazil that will be there for the premiere. What happened was the trailer that was just a rough cut version of what they wanted to do for a trailer got leaked in Brazil from somebody. And then other people took it and added music that they liked and pumped it out. So it got loose here in the U.S. This non-authorized, not the real movie trailer. It got 3 million views in one day.
Wow.
In Brazil, it's had 30 million views in like a week. And so it's like, oh my God. And it's not even the official one. So that kind of gives you a zone of how much people are anticipating this. And by the way, we tried to pull that trailer that's not the real trailer down. I asked people that had put it out, if you just pull back, we'll have probably the official trailer within the next couple of days. And part of the reason that's actually important, there's music that was scored for this movie that's beautiful. The music that these people put out on the non-official version is beautiful. There's no, it was a very good choice. So the people that did it had their heart in the right place. So I'm not throwing any stones at them. They didn't really know what was going on, that this was just a leaked version or whatever. But the people that did the music side, they want to promote. They don't want people thinking that that's the correct music that goes with the real movie. And then the other thing is, if you remember back to Sound of Freedom, the version that I showed in Vegas and then other places around the country with Jim and like that, that was the director's cut. Mel Gibson took what they had and then did the cut that he believed was correct for the movie. That's what people saw in Vegas. It was amazing. When they did the one that was released out to the public, it was 14 minutes shorter. And yes, I get it. They tighten things up here and there and stuff like that. I personally preferred the director's cut. It was just that I didn't mind the extra length. They wanted to make it work for theater owners and timing, and it's very regimented like that. And so they did that from an industry standpoint. It wasn't my favorite version. That extra 14 minutes gives you all sorts of little details that you actually need, as far as I'm concerned. So then you have to view what we're going to see with Dark Horse is the editor's cut, the director's cut, I should say. We'll have the directors there. There's directors of different parts of what goes together in a movie and producers. And so they're going to be there and they'll explain some of their thoughts before and after Edward Bolsonaro, all these other things. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So, you know, and look, I found one of the Democrats. Hiding behind the dumpster. Oh my gosh, he thought he could get away with it. Yeah, right. Hide in a snowsuit in the middle of summer. Hello. Sheesh. These guys, sneaky, man. I'm talking sneaky.
Joe Biden would be proud.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of Dark Horse, he has I love dark beer. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny. Democrats hiding in plain sight. Anyway, and it's a clown. You know, it says it's a snow clown, not just any clown. It's a snow clown, man.
Perfect.
Anyway, just by the way, you know, we have the coin, the Tina Peters coin, the classic, and once she's released, we're switching into the colorized version. So that's a limited run. When we get to the end of that, that's done. So that's only a few days away. If anybody's interested, that's going to be a lot of fun.
And those are very reasonably priced.
Oh yeah.
When silver really takes off, you're going to look back and go, like, I have the coins that you initially came out with. I'm like, wow, those are way more.
Well, remember, they're not, you know, you look at the silver spot price, you can get junk silver, which is like only 75 or 80% silver, even the stuff pre-64.
Yeah.
But these are, a particular grade that's the next higher grade, I forget what they call it, and not just the circulated silver. So they're prepared differently, and like that, the ones, the double eagles of the treasury ones are priced at like 180 or 185 right now. Then you still have to pay shipping, and that is the same type of grade, the polish and all that, is what we have. We're $40 under that. So, you know, it's actually a great deal. And then the Treasury doesn't have them available. They say out of stock.
They're unavailable. I just looked. I just did a show with my silver and gold guy, and I brought that up.
Oh, they're proof quality. Proof quality is what it's called. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, your coins are like phenomenal. They're, you know, proof quality. They're beautiful coins.
Well, the other thing,
your package is really well, nice, really nice.
The other thing that's really fun about them is that, you know, all of the coins are part of kind of a story about this era and time. You know, people get trinkets, they get hats and shirts and all sorts of things. But 10, 20, 30 years from now, when the kids are around and they're asking, what was it like? What was it all about? What were the key things? Having some of these as kind of touchstones to tell the story. And then because they have real value and it'll be going up, they're not going anywhere. People keep them as keepsakes like that. I think it has more effect out in the future. I'm really not doing them precisely for exactly this moment in time. I'm doing it for the kids and grandkids that will look at this later and want to understand what this moment was about. Because we're living through a hinge point in history that is so amazing, so unique. And we get to be here, seriously. I mean, and even down down the road, this conference we're doing, you're going to get to rub shoulders. They don't go sit in the green room. You don't see them. All the speakers like that, they want to hear everybody else also. They'll be right there in the crowd. You saw what happens in the conference, like what we did with the bond conference, and it'll be very much like that. You'll be able to rub shoulders with very like-minded people. Most of the people going there have something going that they're intricately involved in somehow in this moment in history. So I have it's going to be well worth it for the folks that can make it. And then, by the way, I do understand there's a lot of people that can't go logistically. They got family, kids, job, etc., and they can't make it. The movie is, obviously we can't put that out to the world. That is totally private. But the next 2 days, the stuff on the financial frauds and then stuff on the election frauds, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, all of that's going to be out there live streamed and out there for free. So if you can't make it, you can still see everything that's there. So no charge, no ticket, nothing like that. And even on the expense for coming, I cut a super sharp pencil on this when we priced it at $350. That was before we had the movie coming. That was before we decided to do expand to the larger thing on Wednesday night when I was going into the mechanics of the fraud, the math and everything else. Well, at the end of the day, we hadn't planned on doing that. And what happened was it just kind of grew a couple extra heads. Everybody was coming, wanted to hear all the details of what the White House was briefed and the attorneys and like that, the intricacies, because this is a different crowd. They're not really observers. A lot of these people need to go back and themselves present within the political community or things like that. So,
and you're going to have Nino MC, and you're going to have the three amigos there for the first time together. Well, not the first time we were together with the last movie, actually.
Sound Afraid of Bad.
Right there next to the stage, pictures. That's going to be another, value added. You're going to be.
Oh my God!
And there's a good chance I might be there.
Well, you know what?
You're going to be there. Oh, we're hoping.
Josh. Oh yeah. You know what we got to do? Nino doesn't know this. Somewhere in there, when we first get Nino out there, we ought to have the whole crowd, Nino, and do hand wringing at the same time. Oh my gosh, we could have so much fun with Nino on that one.
Poor Nino.
And we got to get Tina to join in on it. That'll be good.
Yeah. So, and by the way, the reason that Nino is emceeing, originally Joe Hoff was going to MC. He had a stroke a couple weeks ago. He and I had dinner a few days earlier there in Florida where he lives. And then I was shocked. But he had his wherewithal enough. He realized he's getting dressed in the morning. He was having a stroke. His son helps him finish getting dressed. He has a preteen son. He goes to his car, gets in his car. His right side, right arm, right leg don't work. So he drives himself left hand, left leg for foot for gas pedal and brake. He got released from the hospital on Saturday. They were initially planning on doing it, at the end of the month, but he was doing so well. And he still got recovery to do with hand use for like typing or writing on his right hand, but his legs back all the way. He has no cognitive issues and all that. But having him come all the way out to Vegas to MC and like that wasn't happening. So we had a couple other people, but it was late notice. Laura Logan, she had a commitment in Europe. We had a couple other fantastic people. So Nino was like choice 4, but I got to tell you though, things have a way of happening for a reason. Huh? I actually think, Nino, the boxer, his history, he emceed fights.
That's right.
I mean, we're in a hell of a fight. It's the Fraud Fighters Conference.
Perfect. Yeah.
Things happen for reasons, but I actually think it's
Crazy.
exactly what it was supposed to be.
He'll be very. He's an opposing presence. You know, he's a heavyweight champion, and now, man, he's going to be. And he's got a great voice. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
Well, I just think things have a way of coming together. You know, I'm doing all the meals. So Monday night there's a full meal dinner. The Ahern gets awards for its catering. It's one of the top catering systems in the Vegas area. And then breakfast, lunch, dinner, full breakfast, not just a continental with a biscuit or something, you know, a real breakfast, breakfast, lunch, dinner, top drawer, both Tuesday and Wednesday. And my logic is this. People leave, they go get lunch, they go get dinner, whatever, they go get coffee, etc. Everything is right there in the Ahern, and we're providing the meal for $350. We're going to get 2 meals for $350, let alone 7.
Oh, yeah.
And top drawer. And then you don't have to go anywhere. And then people tend to sit together, talk, enjoy themselves. And the other thing is I could pack this thing out with theater seating. I didn't do that. Where it's all with the tables, what they call a classroom seating. So you had a place to put your notebook, your freaking, you can eat it, you know, at the thing and actually eat like a human instead of having put it on your lap or something. It's the kind of seating that is just allows people to interact more and enjoy each other and like that, as opposed to just be jammed together. You know, I could get way more people, and that's why we have a cutoff on the number. And we're pretty close. We're within about 75 of that cutoff right now. So it's closing real tight. And then there's just no extra room. We tried to have them take, and they agreed to take out that bar in the middle of the floor. And then at the last minute, it didn't happen. I was just there yesterday and we were working through it. So we came up with what we feel is still going to be proper for the movie and like that. And we took about 3 hours laying out the whole thing. So speakers and all that, because there's so much logistics, power, you know, speakers, cameras, the whole schmear that, you know, is unique to our situation. So anyway, it's going to be great. But Josh is one of my favorite people. Let me just say this, and I mentioned to your audience the other day, Jacob, Michael, that there's very few people within, let's say, the Q drops, as well as the subtle messaging that this president is using to communicate with the public. They put subtle messaging in to brand certain things. To, if you're paying attention, it's like what happens in the intelligence services. Most things just go right by everybody, but you may have a subtle hand signal, flash of something, you know. Put the tape on the telephone pole sideways if you want one response, and upside down, reversed, whatever, if you want a different response. That's what this administration is doing. As far as being able to those things out of the static, out of the clutter, and then make them make sense. I don't really think there's anybody that is any better, let alone even holds a candle to the stuff that Josh has consistently seen, explained, brought out to the public. And so, I enjoy that I can say, this is somebody that, he warrants listening to. If he's got something to say, I listen, because he has that level of perception. And a lot of times, some of these things, not everybody gets read in up front. So you kind of got to be able to pick these things out as you go. I'm pretty good, but Josh, I have to tighten up my shoelaces. I got to, make sure I got the right socks on and all that just to keep up with them. So, and I'm not just saying that for fun. I fluff. I really do believe that, Josh. It's fun to get to share the podium with you.
Yeah.
Oh, Juan, you're awesome.
That's one of the things that I noticed as well. I did a show with them, just a few days ago, really. And I was like, Josh, how do you get your background? And he's telling me, I was like, dang, you are natural. You're
well,
like,
by the way, Josh, you weren't on the air, but
I
I found a clown Democrat hiding behind this dumpster dumpster. Okay, the Democrats are on the run. This one here, we found him.
I'm sure he's registered to vote.
Yeah, well, see, look, he's thin. He's all whatever, but he's very thin. It's a clown Democrat hiding behind the dumpster here in the alley while I was getting the new.
He donated $58,000 to Act Blue and voted in the last 4 elections.
Yeah, he got a loan on his house for $300 million. That he paid $100,000 for last week.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is true. You know what? In the Fraud Fighters Conference, we have one of the greatest guys, Sean Taylor, who is finding these magic mortgages. Literally, these guys buy a house, they go to the bank, and they get a loan. They pay $100,000 for the house and get a loan for $300 million. How are they funding all of these campaigns and other bullshit? That's how.
Well, Juan, it's kind of interesting that you said that, because if everybody remembers the active shooter situation that occurred in New York City during the first year of Trump's administration, 2025, remember the person was heading up to the NFL floor of the skyscraper and they just stopped off at Goldman Sachs and shot one person who happened to be the senior vice president who is in charge of all deeds and mortgages in the United States of America? At the same time that Act Blue was coming under investigation? I mean, come on. What are the coincidences? And here's the key, is that the large financial institutions are in on it.
Yes.
So it is a fraud to do exactly what Juan's saying, to go get one mortgage and then take out 3, 4, 5 mortgages at an overpriced value. But what was happening is these large banks and financial institutions make them disappear.
Yes. It's just, I had to get a new key for my Bentley. Now I see they got the seats out. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're just making an extra key. So I'll stay here watching the Democrats so he doesn't get away in the meantime. I haven't gotten to hear what you've had to say recently on any of the goings on. So maybe you could bring me up to speed, Josh. I've been traveling pretty hard. In fact, I have to leave the country here very shortly here. I'm back to Asia on something that's crucial, but I'm as anxious to hear your latest take on stuff as some of the listeners probably are, and then maybe I can chime in.
Yeah, no, I mean, like right now we're coming to a conclusion, I believe, of the Iran war, which really wasn't the Iran. It's the old British imperial system's economic grip on
brother,
the world.
That's exactly right, man. Those freaking trolls are there, right there at the passageway, taking their cut every single time. Yeah,
the Iran terror premium. That's through Lloyd's of London and the derivatives bankers out of London, the Rothschild banks. One of the interesting things that I did see recently is that due to the outfall of the Epstein files, the Rothschild banks are actually losing clients en masse. And there's a great article in the New Yorker, I think it was, about, is this the end of the Rothschild banking dynasty because of the Epstein files, and nobody wants to do business with them anymore. And I found that very, very interesting, because Trump's attack, for people out there who might not be kind of paying attention to what's happening with Venezuela, Cuba, and then Iran, we look at this as the three-legged foundation of Chinese energy stability, right? So right now there's a silent war in the race to artificial superintelligence. I believe that the United States already has it. That's why we're taking these mass risks to do what we're doing. But it's about curbing China's progression towards artificial intelligence, which China, in a sense, has a deep state, and that deep state is controlled by that same system that we were just talking about, this global financial system. And Trump has systematically dismantled a lot of the Belt and Roads Initiative. He's dismantled this energy infrastructure for China that was basically giving them 30% retail priced oil across the globe through Iran and Venezuela. Another part of that is that you have what's known as the Iran terror premium. And over the last 47 years, as Donald Trump says multiple different times, and Peter Navarro is the one that did this research, it's a cost of the global population about $33 trillion due to the Iran terror premium, which is basically the Ayatollah coming out and threatening the Strait, and then Lloyd's of London will increase the insurance premiums on all the ships that go through the Strait of Hormuz, and that will increase $5 to $15 per price a barrel of oil, and that accumulated over 47 years is about $33 trillion. And so now if you take that into the next level, you have the London bankers that come out with the derivatives markets, and they know that that premium is going to increase the next day, so they're going to go out there and place future trades and make themselves mass profits. And this is just control and manipulation of the energy markets. And with the advancements towards artificial intelligence and what's happening with all of that right now, you need the free markets to really rule and dominate, as well as you need the United States kind of under Donald Trump in charge of that market. And this is kind of what we saw with this multifaceted approach with Iran, is that all of these suppliers are now coming, or not suppliers, all of these customers are now coming to the United States of America. And this was I was talking about this a few weeks ago before Trump's China visit. And I said, watch, what's going to happen is he's going to come back and China is going to have energy deals with the United States of America. Probably over $365 billion worth of energy deals. And sure enough, China is going to be buying energy from the southern states. Are going to be buying energy from the joint collaboration between Russia and the United States in the Arctic, which, if you look at this, and you look at military leaders who have talked about the inevitable kinetic war with China over the next 5 years, what Donald Trump is trying to do is create a lose-lose situation for the United States and China, basically bringing about mutually assured economic destruction so that that cannot happen. And one of the methodologies to do that is to get China dependent on U.S. energy, because that also brings down the global energy prices when you have a mass supplier putting that energy out there. But then China cannot go to war necessarily with the United States of America, because if you look at this strategically, last year, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates all went under defense cooperation and defense pact agreements with the United States of America, taking in over, I think, $250 billion in a defense package. What does that mean? Is that these are the formation of one of the largest oil suppliers in the Middle East that supply oil to China. About 60% of Chinese oil comes from that region outside of Russia. So Donald Trump has that. Then you got China buying U.S. and Russian oil next. So what does this do? If China ever went into Taiwan or ever incurred a war on the United States of America, he can sanction them through proxy through the Middle East. He can go out there and cut off their supply through the United States. He can shut down, because this is one of the greatest things that he did here with Iran. He shut down the Strait of Hormuz. I think that this is like 32 miles long straight, okay? And he shut it down with the United States Navy with ease. What was that a signal to? That was a signal to Xi Jinping and China about the Strait of Malacca. If you don't know where the Strait of Malacca is over there, Malaysia and Indonesia, that is where all that supply chain for China, all of their food, all of their grain, all of their cattle, all of their oil, they have to flow through there up into China. And that is only about 3.7 miles wide. So if Donald Trump can shut down the Strait of Hormuz, he can shut down the Strait of Malacca. So these are kind of like pre-warning stages that are being placed. And I think Xi Jinping is actually on board with Donald Trump with a lot of this. He understands that you have the Chinese elders within the CCP that are the deep state organization within the CCP, and they are trying to coup Xi Jinping multiple different times. We've seen 3 this year. We saw a few years ago. Remember, Xi Jinping was gone for 2 weeks, and everybody thought that he had gotten couped. This was Jintao behind the process with the other elders trying to overthrow Xi Jinping. And I think Xi Jinping is actually working towards this multipolar world, as well as Putin and Trump, to bring about a real free market that is not controlled and dictated by the central banks and by this controlled economic infrastructure. And this is one of the other reasons why you have Scott Bessent, and then you have Warsh coming in, the Federal Reserve, and they are setting up a whole new economic system in the United States that is going to revamp the the international systems. But right now, what we have is Todd Blanche over there, Blanchet over there at the DOJ, absolutely a wrecking ball. We have the first indictments coming out from Fort Pierce, Florida, with Jason Quinones, Redding Quinones over there against Raul Castro. That's another important part of all of this. But you have Geneva over there, who's coming to the U.S. attorney, taking over the John Brennan, the 2016-2017 ICA investigation, which is going to expand into FISA-gate, Russia. You have multiple different grand juries formed right now in Georgia, Arizona, and I've heard there's some in Colorado, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin for sure. Yesterday, a friend of mine told me that the feds had went in and they were visiting all of the election officials in various different counties throughout Wisconsin trying to subpoena records. And so that was verified with eyes on for that. So we have these grand juries that are all forming about all of this. So what do you have is you have the perfect storm brewing right now. Trump said it's no longer the calm before the storm. We are in the midst of the storm. And what you have right now is you have all of these grand juries that are forming with timing being precise, I believe, right before the midterms. You have Democrats and Republican rhinos and deep staters that are being primary, that are resigning, that are no longer seeking re-election. We called this and said this exactly was going to happen right before the midterm elections. You have most likely accountability and indictments that are going to happen around late July, August timeframe, maybe even into September. And all of this is going to be timed precisely before the midterms. I think we're going to come out with a red wave and a supermajority. And this kind of, if you look at what Trump's doing right now, is he's transitioning a lot of his kinetic attacks and he's moving more towards future planning. That is an indication to me that we're moving to the next phase of the plan, that everything is all wrapped up. You just have to go through the motions. And that once we have the supermajority within the House and the Senate, then you begin the implementation phase of really changing America towards this, what I call the 500-year leap. And this is something that I've been an advocate of, and I've been talking about it. If people are following out there with the UAP, UFO disclosure, this is surface level stuff and they can't put all this other classified project stuff out there. But what you have is you have something known as the Genesis mission, which is an AI-based mission utilizing DoD level artificial intelligences that are integrated through the national laboratories and through the Department of Energy. And they're bringing in 40,000 American scientists in various different fields to basically go through the last 50 years of scientific experimentation, scientific data. All these different papers are thrown in AI, and they're going to try to solve the universe's mysteries with this. In other words, what's really happening is you're taking all of these black SAP projects, the WooSAPs and the USAPs that were operating, reverse engineering various different technologies. You're throwing them into an artificial intelligence, and scientists are going to look as if they discovered it, and it's going to bring about mass innovation, which is going to be a 500-year leap in the next 20 years. And that's the golden age of America that we're all prepping towards. But before that happened is you had to neutralize this kind of grand conspiracy towards a one world government, a new world order that was being headed by the old British imperial system, the deep state, the globalists, which I think is completely dismantled. I mean, they're running away right now, wondering what to do. They're reforming. You just had Mark Carney and Keir Starmer and all these guys meet up in Armenia last week because they need to form their own new world order to just compete with the United States and China now. And then you have Barack Obama and Alex Soros going up there and meeting Mark Carney when he came back. I think that they're still plotting something, but I think the majority of it is that it's already done, and they're right now in a world of hurt because their system has been completely dismantled. And, by the way, with all these indictments, and then, don't forget about the 2018 midterms. We already had the perfect phone call, the impeachment number 2 indictments coming out about that. There's probably going to be more from that with the FISA-gate Russia narrative. You have the Senate that's sending criminal referrals from the Clinton Foundation investigations, pay for play. That goes all the way back to 2012 to 2014. And then you have the NGO infrastructure. And right now we're seeing a lot of focus on the NGO infrastructure, SPLC, that just got indicted. This is the one domino that's going to begin to fall to take down all the rest. And, if you look at the diminishing of USAID and the repurposing a lot of those funds, if you look at removing the NGO, the NPO infrastructure from the top level above government and disconnecting that from the global organizations, you have a recipe for America's success, and that's where we're headed right now. I always say that we got 1 foot out of the old door and a foot and a half into the new door, because this is coming up to the wraps right now. At least that's my thoughts. Rapid fire, Juan.
That's love it. Love it. Good job. What are your thoughts, Juan? Are you won't praying for snow out there?
I had muted just so you didn't get wind noise. I sorry about that. I was hoping this day would come when I could announce to the world that I was going to go play with my cars and boats and airplanes and space station and take a break. But I just felt that I had to kind of stay with this. But Josh, you're about 30 years younger than me. I think I could hand the baton to you now and I can go just relax because you got this. You understand it. It's actually very refreshing to hear so much articulated so precisely and pull lots of disparate pieces together. Hat tip, man. When you articulate it the way you do, it helps others to think more clearly and also add into it and build on that and articulate out amongst the hosts. Michael, I'm sure you feel the same way when you have somebody like him on. Other shows that you do are improved because you've kind of got this zone that he's in. It's important. This is how we're going to get the country back on track and explain to them what's really been going on. The only other things that I would add is that within the families that are working, tag teaming together to control the destination of the planet, they're, this old world order trying to be the next world order, portraying themselves as the new world order. These secret handshake groups and clubs are actually on the run right now. What Trump did, he's dismantling their financial systems. He's dismantling their monetary systems that give them leverage into the world to force things to happen and pay people off and like that. Dismantling them on their false science, the whole green thing, peak oil, everything in the world. And then their tools. China is really a tool of the Brits. They haven't ever given up, as Israel is, by the way, also. And so a lot of this going on in the world, it's this hidden hand going back into those royal families. And then their financial relationships. You talk about oil and the Mideast and like that. Well, you got to start the conversation with Arab American Oil Corporation, Aramco. Who's the, we understand the Arab side. Who's the American side? Well, that's Standard Oil. That's the Rockefellers. And we see other families in the energy side controlling this choke point of energy to the world. The world runs on oil right now, runs on energy, predominantly oil. And so as we move into other energy systems, this is going to morph and change yet again. But there's a period of time for that to fully come through and play through and like that. And so we're at this crisis moment where it's all coming into play. And, we talk about the storm. Let me just add this, that the storm is upon us, but we haven't seen its full strength yet. And I believe where the strength is at its peak is as we get into the arrest. And there's a couple phases of arrest. There's the stuff that'll be done by the Justice Department, but ultimately the worst of the club is going to be the ones that we have to send to Gitmo. And so we'll see some early stuff. I think mid-July, the president and team want America to get a chance to enjoy their 250th anniversary. But as soon as we get past that, a few days to get home and relax, mid-July, I think it's on. We'll see just wave after wave of actions at the Justice Department, including arrests and disclosures, setting the stage for the bigger stuff, which comes further into the fall. And in the context of these coming elections, the frauds in the primaries, etc. And of course, a lot of that stuff that will be discussed during the conference that I have here in mid-June. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to make it, because Josh, there's a lot of people that need to hear you precisely, and that I want to introduce you to. And it really is about networking at the event to get you on other shows where folks may not be aware of your work and like that. And I'm looking forward to, making those introductions. So be there, be square.
Broadcasting what they're about to do. So that just destroys their narrative, destroys the way, they've set everything up. Now, while we're doing this show, we have Nino and Sean Taylor are talking about arrest incoming. So this is more example of all of us combined are really hammering away at them and destroying their narratives. And that's one of the reasons why they're going to be arrested, because we destroy their narratives, we destroy the way they've created their money over time. We're taking it away from them. So outstanding. Good job.
Yeah.
Well, they're
they're
illusion. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
Yeah. Look at the serendipitous beauty of this. July 4th, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the day that our founding fathers declared independence from the British imperial system. Now, what happened after that? A war occurred, a revolution occurred. Donald Trump is holding off on the timing of the accountability and the arrest until after that date, because it becomes revolutionary symbolically within the time frame and the date. And, I've had a lot of conversations with people. I was at an event in Nashville a few weeks ago, and I went outside and I'm talking to this lady who wasn't at the event, and she's like, I voted for Trump and I'm mad because I don't know what's going on, and why can't he just be transparent, and why is he doing this? Why Iran? Why all this? And I said, look, and I explained to her a lot of what we just talked about. And she goes, well, why doesn't he just come out and say that? And I said, because you can't tell the people, you have to show them.
Yeah.
And that's the truth in the matter, is Donald Trump is showing everybody the truth of the world right now.
Well, most of the people that are naysayers, they're not strategists. They don't have that background. They're not holding it against them. But so much of what's occurring here, you got, the gas station attendant going to tell us how to run the free markets and how to deal with royalty and all those secret handshake clubs. Really? Take a deep breath. These are pros. They're really doing a great job. You can find fault all you want on nuances and technique and things like that. But think of any other leader that we've had, or somebody else out in the world, just anywhere, who would have the wherewithal, the stamina, the family to back him up to do what Trump has done. It's that New Yorker, businessman, not taking any guff from anybody and working the deal and all that makes this all possible. And if you had somebody that was any less stamina, focus, resolve, they'd have folded a long time ago under all the pressure. And so I think that, we're being very well served. It may not be clear yet, but down the road, we're going to have a chance to look back and reflect on all these things and realize just how amazing this moment in time was. And by the way, Trump was invited to run. Who invited him? It's not just Trump. And a lot of the work that was done to try and figure out, how do we unwind this mess? How do we get the world back on course and take it back from these monsters? That was years and years, tens of years of gaming out prior work and failures to get to this moment in time. Prayer required. Nobody's ever done and achieved what we're trying to achieve here, but the threat, the risk to the world, to all of us, is so great now, because with AI, with other choke points that are being created outside the normal election system for a world order, unelected leaders taking control of the world, where the ones you elect don't actually have control because they're being managed by families and business relationships and groups, not one or 10, 50, 100 different organizations that are all working in lockstep. They're really hidden families trying to take control of the world for the next 1,000 years, right? And we have this moment to recapture control of the planet for the people. And by the way, America, like it or not, we're the big dog. There's nobody else that can come and do what we're doing. And Trump is the guy that's at the front of that pack. It is still a pack, though. He may be at the front of the pack. It's still a pack. The 200 who invited him to run. And then all the rest of us, Josh, you know this. I don't have time to be able to do a show like you do, Michael, and to go through all the mechanics, have the guests. So it's because I can come to you, I can come to Anino, I can come to a couple dozen other hosts and share stuff into various. I actually like the mid and smaller audiences where I get to interact with a certain flavor of folks, in those different areas. If you don't do what you do, and other hosts similarly, you're a big dog in the room, Nino's a big dog in the room, we've got other people, then I can't. I'd be to try and do a show every day. It just wouldn't work, and do the other work that I've got to do. I mean, I gotta be on airplanes for 20 hours here shortly. I was on airplanes all this week. I think I flew 11,050 miles in the last 7 days. So, how can you do a show and have some regularity, predictability? It never happened. But other stuff that I'm doing is important to be able to relay, and I get to do it with guys like you. So it's a team effort. Even like the conference, it is a team effort. We're where we're at because we work well together.
Yeah, very good. And I think I saw somewhere that the primaries, the GOP won. It was a clean slate. It's like 36 primaries. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's how, like Josh, you said, a blue tsunami. I've been saying blue tsunami. For the first time, we're going to see that in, almost a decade or more. It's been predicted, over and over and over again, but it's been stolen. So I think now we're reaching the point where it can no longer be stolen on the level that it has. And who knows, we might not even have to have an executive order that, sends in the military. It looks like, everything's kind of like lining up just right.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I would say, just let me add this real quick, Josh. Trust but verify. There's a lot in motion, and then you have to have a backup for the backup. If you don't have a backup, like, for example, I have a real critical situation right now that is very sensitive. And so we got worked out the basics of a primary, fleshed it out, what has to happen. And then I says, okay, and now I need the backup. Here's the backup. And I says, this is what I propose. And came to some consensus within the group. And then I have one further backup, because there better be a backup for the backup. Things can go weird. We do not have the option of not getting it right. So anyway, so that's so when we say election, okay, we might have it sorted out. Then again, anything happens, hey, they got weather machines now, right? You got these Democrat snow clowns out there. They're thin as can be. But what are they praying for? They're praying for snow, man. They're praying for snow. Something that we just don't see coming. Pray for snow, right? They want something that will get them out of this corner that they're in. And who knows that they can't pull something off. You better have a backup for the backup. Yeah. If you got to do a full stop on the vote, if something happens, you can get other people in there, because there's a lot of stolen primaries already happened in the country. Let's see how it plays out. People think that everything is exactly regimented. The next thing. No, they make a move, we make a move. There have to be options for the next moves, depending on how this whole thing breaks out. And that's exactly what President Trump and the team are looking at. Anything goes sideways, unusual, they pull a rabbit out of the hat, then we have to be able to respond to it, react to it. So it's going in a good direction this second, far from over.
Correct. 100% agree with you, Juan. And for everybody who maybe has a bad memory, go back to 2020. The preparations for the 2020 election were made all the way back to 2018. Why did George Soros go out there and fund the attorney generals and the secretary of states of various different states? What will they do to sustain survivability? Because that's what they're fighting for right now, is to survive. But the interesting thing is when we look at everything that's happened, Act Blue under investigation. Here's some numbers for you. The RNC currently has $123.9 million of cash on hand. The DNC, $14.4 million with $17.5 million of debt. You just had Governor Mills of Maine drop out of a race because she has no money. So this is really, really important. They're not raising any money. They have no money coming in. Then Donald Trump's victory over the last 2 days, getting Cassidy primaried, getting Massey primaried, you going in and he's endorsing Ken Paxton. This is huge because what it's doing is it's taking down the rhino establishment within the Senate as well as various different sleepers in Congress. So that's clearing the field. But looking at all of his endorsements and they rose up and they all won, that is so huge because it's telling all the FAGA out there, the fake MAGA and all the anti-American firsters who basically disloyal Donald Trump and left and said, oh my God, MAGA's dead. It just gave them a big F you in their face to all of this because the truth is it's quite the opposite. Now, going into election integrity and infrastructure, Tulsi Gabbard, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, is leading the integrity and infrastructure task force. This is what caused the raid in Puerto Rico that got the Dominion machine, saw the compromise of them, that got the grand jury in Georgia and Fulton County and had the FBI raid. That's why Tulsi was there, because there is foreign interference within those elections. This is why we have the grand jury that's formed in Arizona looking in the Maricopa County. We have one in Wisconsin. We know this. What's going to happen is there's going to be a report that comes out from this probably mid-summer time frame. Donald Trump has already prepped this report with the executive order for voter ID that he did a few weeks ago. But when this report comes out, it's going to unequivocally state that there is foreign interference in our elections due to compromised voting technology. And from that, I believe Donald Trump's going to move forth with a national emergency on election integrity and infrastructure. And this is what's going to be the nail in the coffin for securing our elections prior to the elections actually happening. So you add all of that stuff up, and this is going to be a red wave.
Well, and again, they're getting backed in a corner. What are they capable of? They want to do all sorts of bizarre things. But remember, Trump, they were going to use gangs. There were going to be doors getting kicked in. People were talking about how we're going to be door to door, street to street, Civil War style fight here in the country over Trump's policies if he got into office. What did he do? In the first minutes after he became president, I had people that were texting me, hey, I just got orders. I've got a report. What did they end up doing? They're going out picking up all the gang members, the leaders, and they got decapitated in the gangs. And then those guys talked and told us where stuff was at. We went out and did some arrests, seizures, things like that, and kind of neutered that gang threat in large measure. Is there other stuff that they have still going? Look what we did Venezuela and Honduras and things like that. We've still got threats out there. The nuke stuff all summer during 2024 up into the election and after. We had the drones all over the country. There's threat coming in. Even the stuff in Iran right now. It's about getting the rest of that material that we haven't got so far under control. Who's running Iran? We'll find out when one of the groups in Iran decides to work a deal to give us the nuclear material that they have, the enriched material that they have. Then we'll know who's in charge, and that'll be who Trump blesses. In the meantime, let them wring their hands and call for Nino. So I think we're in a great moment. Still a lot in play, still drama. The greatest part of the storm is as we get into the arrests. So we're going to get through the holidays, Everybody gets home from their vacation and expect this go from gale force 2 to 5 or even 6 eventually before it's all done, like the world's never seen. And it's not just here in the U.S., it's across the planet. Because remember, the elections were stolen not just in America, but in 71 countries plus the United States, according to the people who actually did the mechanical, technical engineering of the election thefts. And by the way, you mentioned something with Xi and China and all that. Basant went to South Korea before Trump even lifted off. Air Force One wasn't taken off till they had worked an agreement. Basant met his counterpart from China in South Korea. And as a result of that meeting, you'll notice that while Trump was in China, who got released from prison? The president of South Korea, who had been impeached and then sent to prison. The same thing they did with Bolsonaro, who we got the movie about coming up. Same thing happened there. And it's what they wanted to do with Trump. And they got short-stopped and didn't get away with it. So that
I'll tell you how this all started.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was looking at Louis Herms. Keep going. I was looking at Louis Herms. He did a special on Grok, and Grok basically, I was like pulling it up. Grok basically said it was like 50 trillion to 1 that Obama could have won the last election, 2020. It's not over yet.
Over yet? Yeah, you mean Biden? Yeah. Well, no. You actually said it correctly. If Biden was robotically being controlled by Obama, yeah, Obama won the election. So yeah. Anyway, these clowns, they're praying for snow.
Yep.
They're praying for snow in July. Well, they might get that in Argentina. They're not getting that up here in the States. So anyway.
No way.
Well, I have to bounce, and because I've got a flight I've got to hurry get ready for, and they're just about done with my Bentley here, putting a new key for it. And so I got to drive it back out to the country and deposit it. So I will bounce out. But Josh, I look forward to seeing you. Michael, you and Tracy, I'm looking forward to seeing you kids there in Vegas. It's going to be unbelievable. And there's stuff we haven't even announced that I can't announce quite yet, that anybody that's there is going to be like, yeah, that was the one to be at. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. So if there's still some room, I think we opened up a few yesterday when we got it, but we will sell out, and they're, the people that are there going to get a treat.
No doubt. Yeah.
Awesome one.
Thanks, Juan.
And by the way, just so people know, we will live stream it, everything but the movie. So those 2 days, so you can't get there. And I understand that completely. I wish everybody could be there, but you'll get to see what we're seeing and like that. So it's not like it's cut off or exclusive or whatever, but, I can't, I can live stream it. I can't live stream the food. You're going to miss out. We got great food. That $350 is to cover the expense of 7 full meals while we're there. Not crap. One of the best catering operations in Vegas, and so it'll be great food. Yeah, you'll have a great time if you're able to make it. I think we cut a very. We weren't even doing the movie. We weren't doing the last day's presentation in the evening, and that was the price. I haven't changed it one bit from beginning to end. So everybody has a chance to be there, and we've improved it even for what we originally intended. So be there or be square.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Juan.
All right, for sure. Go get a Tina coin, and we're gonna Tina. Praise the Lord, she's out on January or June 1st, but prayer is still required, and she actually has her Tina.us. Anybody feels so inclined, she's still got to put her life back together. She'll get some big settlement someday, but that could be years from now. And in the meantime, she's still got to function, and it's been brutal for her. So, and the attorneys have done everything they've done for free. We'll get them paid, but it's going to be a while. And anything that can kind of help, some of the attorneys are able to take the hit a little more than others, but they're there for a reason. So anyway, appreciate all of you. Glad to put the show together. Josh, let's talk separately. I'm tied up right now, but while I'm doing transit between flights.
Josh, any final words?
Well, buckle up, people. It's just beginning. Like this is just starting. So we're coming into this time frame right now, end of May, beginning of June. Like I said, is everybody's been waiting for a specific moment, and I think that's the July 4th moment because it's truly revolutionary.
Yeah,
Truly revolutionary. And Trump is a rebel. He loves being revolutionary. So July 4th, I think, is when the festivities begin to kick off. And I mean, think about it, because that's when the 250th birthday festivities kick off, is July 4th. So I think that we're coming up on it right now. We got about another month and a half of prep, and then it's going to happen.
I agree. And it's not going to stop there. It'll take some time to arrest all these criminals because it's not just political. There's healthcare and businesses and all kind of crazy.
Yep.
Lots of people got to go bye-bye. So yeah. So how can people reach you if they want to?
Yeah, redpills.tv. I make it so easy. redpills.tv. And that's my website. You can find where I'm connected up all over there.
All right, awesome. And yeah, I mean, just a few days ago, we're like, talking about, wow, wouldn't it be great to have you and Juan together? And there you go. So
perfect,
great time. You guys rock. You're the future. You're going to be a Juan O'Savin in the future. So I look forward to it.
Restored Republic via GCR. Judy note, urgent, EBS alert, 10 to 12 day blackout and martial law phase could start tonight Monday, June 15, 2026. According to martial law on Telegram, EBS protocols were engaged around 7 p.m. on Monday, June 15, 2026 and the clock would strike on the old world at midnight. If not, other sources say the EBS could go off Wednesday 17th of June or Thursday 18th of June. Whatever happens, you are advised to prepare your homes for the coming 10 days of darkness guided by EBS broadcasts. Stay indoors when called. Breaking, Elite Panic as QFS overrides final controls and Nizara/Jazara activates worldwide. Cell broadcast push incoming, stay home, stay calm, stay in prayer. Everything that happened publicly yesterday, June 14, 2026, UFC Freedom 250, represented, for many observers, the symbolic end of the former maritime law system under satanic occult rule, and the beginning of a republic under the new American order and the law of the land. Ezra A. Cohen on Telegram. What the mainstream media was not reporting, how close we were to being obliterated in a nuclear war with Iran. U.S. strikes on Iran uncovered a 5,000-mile master tunnel system that ran from Iran deep state bunkers into hidden U.S. coastal domes along the coasts of California and Florida. Presently Trump's U.S. Army forces were raiding both ends of the tunnels. On Sunday, June 14, 2026, Flag Day and President Trump's birthday, he made a military strike in Venezuela that eliminated the most wanted gang leader in the Western Hemisphere. On his birthday, Trump also made a peace agreement with Iran that ends a war, reopens the Strait of Hormuz, and restores global oil flow. No money exchanged. No concessions. Signed on his terms. The U.S. Incorporated housed a vast network of underground cities, military bases, and deep state tunnels from Edwards Air Force Base to Vandenberg, 29 Palms, Catalina Island, Tonopah, Area 51, and numerous COG facilities. Arizona sites at WikiUp, page, Superstition Mountains, Fort Huachuca, the Grand Canyon which conceals ancient underground cities with hundreds of rooms and Egyptian-style artifacts. Sedona's vortices allegedly cover a Lemurian colony and reptilian bases under Boynton Canyon. California's Edwards Air Force Base links via 50-mile tube shuttles to the massive Tehachapi Anthill Complex. This facility over 2 miles deep houses cloned humans, gray aliens, reptiloids, and teams conducting genetic experiments and mind control. China Lake and Deep Springs function as major sites for alien-human bioalteration programs and electromagnetic conflicts. Mount Shasta hides tunnels to UFO bases and the Lemurian Telos City. Denver International Airport and Atlanta host enormous Illuminati underground complexes. These coast-to-coast networks enable deep state and regressive alien collaborations on experiments against humanity. EBS, blackout, martial law, lockdowns, c. The quantum space Q phone, or called Pi phone, will be used for internet connectivity, texting and calling, banking, voting and much more. Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. Q phones will be provided free of charge to all people on Earth. The QFS will establish a private internet network on triple code and maybe an 8G network for SATCOM. The Q phone features a 3D interactive holographic display. It will be one of the main credit tools and most urgent expenditures in the daily life for retail consumption and for domestic and international commercial business, and as a subserver to abuse and control the quantum system with Stellar plus Starlink. The Q phone is developed and manufactured in Germany and UK with final software updates in the US. This is a 3D phone and it is the highest quality. It's a $500 million manufacturing business in 3 countries. And some other countries like Japan. They are assembled in different warehouses throughout the world. We're not getting any more spy phones. Then we can get rid of all those ugly and dangerous cell towers that are everywhere. Monday, June 15, 2026, boom. Trump federalizes 200 Oregon National Guard troops to expose deep state operations behind ICE attacks in Antifa-controlled Portland, quantum connected on Telegram. Portland has become the last stronghold of a collapsing regime. For months the ICE facility has been under direct assault by Antifa cells backed by silent approval of state and city authorities. These weren't random protests, they were battlefield operations. Until now the federal government was blocked from intervening. That ended this week. President Trump ordered Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to federalize 200 Oregon National Guard troops. The order places them under Northern Command for a 60-day deployment securing ICE personnel and federal property. This is not politics. This is national security. Oregon's Democrat Attorney General immediately sued to block it, knowing exposure is imminent. For years state leaders covered deep networks, foreign NGO pipelines, intel relays, biometric surveillance grids, installed under public safety and smart city programs. Antifa's street chaos was a distraction. The ICE facility was targeted because it intercepted trafficking, cartel, and cross-border crimes. Antifa surrounded it to shield the real ops inside Portland. Weapons in agitators' hands were no homemade tools, they were military-grade lasers, encrypted comms, jamming tech, drone systems. All trace back to foreign sponsorship routed through non-profits protected by city officials. Trump acted and the deep state countered with lawfare. The lawsuit is a stall tactic to scrub evidence and move assets before federal troops arrive. Governor Tina Kotek parroted the old 2020 script, calling it illegal occupation. That denial is the tell, you don't panic unless your defenses are collapsing. And they are. Black Hawks and surveillance drones already circle the south waterfront. Federal eyes are mapping escape routes and command structures. A September 28 encrypted call to action confirmed renewed Antifa direct action orders, diversions to cover leadership pullouts. Northern Command's mission isn't just to guard ICE. It's to capture handlers, disrupt surveillance grids, and secure data vaults beneath Portland holding biometric mapping software built with foreign engineered systems. If exposed, it proves Americans were tracked without consent. Trump isn't just sending troops, he's dismantling the hub. Portland was the prototype of globalist control, media cover, proxy militias, lawfare shields, foreign collusion. Now it's being dismantled in real time. Title 10 is in effect. These troops answer to Northern Command. Northern Command answers to Trump. The last stronghold is falling. Portland is just the beginning. Possible timing, EBS alert, 10 to 12 day blackout and martial law phase starting tonight Monday, June 15, 2026. Thursday, June 19, 2026, EBS signals will prepare the world for 10 days of darkness. On Sunday, June 14, 2026, Tier 4B QFS wallet activations begin worldwide. Biometric DNA accounts go live. Pre-1964 births receive $60M plus restitution from reversed SES-KVI fraud. 1964 to 1980 births hit $37 million. Cabal hidden wealth returns to the people. Deep state accounts zeroed out in total panic. On Monday, June 15, 2026, Wells Fargo emails bondholders for high-rate redemption center appointments. Zim redeems only at official centers. Jazara erases mortgages, student loans and credit cards since 1971. $100K, $450K debt wiped per American. Party time starts as massive wealth floods in. On Wednesday, June 17, 2026, EBS activates at 7 p.m. EST. MSM blacked out permanently. Starlink sends 7 messages in 22 languages to every phone and TV. 10 Days Truth videos expose pedophile networks, organ harvesting, adrenochrome rings and mind control. Martial law locks down 700,000 plus arrests across 209 countries. Tribunals stream live. False flags fail. On Friday, June 19, 2026, global military checkpoints secure under QFS. ISO 20022 gold-backed currencies live at 1-to-1. SWIFT fiat system shut off forever. Gold revaluation at $4,700/oz confirmed. Cabal's 13 families collapse. Sovereign Treasury delivers tariff-funded future with no income tax. U.S. Army forces under Trump's direct command are already inside both ends, raiding live as we speak. Temporary martial law is now expanded to full coastal lockdown to protect the rescue OPS. And Monday, June 15, 2026, America's biggest cover-up exposed: the secret underground cities, military bases and government-controlled tunnels they don't want you to see. Magastorm report on Telegram. The U.S. government's vast network of underground cities, military bases, and deep state tunnels stands exposed. Elites built this hidden empire beneath American feet using stolen trillions without consent. This remains America's biggest cover-up, now unraveling fast. Government maps reveal connected installations from Edwards Air Force Base to Vandenberg, 29 Palms, Catalina Island with alien craft reports, Tonopah, Area 51, and numerous COG facilities. Arizona sites at WikiUp, Page, and Superstition Mountains show reptilian and gray alien presence. Fort Huachuca operates top-secret underground communications with potential detainment roles. The Grand Canyon conceals ancient underground cities with hundreds of rooms and Egyptian-style artifacts. These sites now serve elitist groups and black ops behind guarded doors deep underground. Sedona's vortices allegedly cover a Lemurian colony and reptilian bases under Boynton Canyon. Joint facilities there collaborate with Illuminati elements on genetic agendas amid heavy UFO activity. California's Edwards Air Force Base links via 50-mile tube shuttles to the massive Tehachapi Anthill complex. This facility over 2 miles deep houses cloned humans, gray aliens, reptiloids, and teams conducting genetic experiments and mind control. Hovering surveillance spheres and anti-gravity craft operate throughout. China Lake and Deep Springs function as major sites for alien-human bioalteration programs and electromagnetic conflicts. Mount Shasta hides tunnels to UFO bases and the Lemurian Telos City, tied to ongoing ancient factional struggles. Denver International Airport and Atlanta host enormous Illuminati underground complexes for New World Order operations. Mount Weather in Virginia serves as a complete shadow government city with supercomputers holding data on millions of citizens and quarters for unelected officials. These coast-to-coast networks enable deep state and regressive alien collaborations on experiments against humanity. Genetic programs and control systems run beyond any public oversight. More revelations expose the military-industrial role in this subterranean empire. QAnon patriots and Trump supporters demand full disclosure of stolen resources and hidden agendas beneath U.S. soil. The awakening intensifies as truths emerge from below. WWG1 Monday, June 15, 2026. The war is over. The strait is open. The oil flows. While you were sleeping, the world changed. Q on Telegram. At 9:47 p.m. Eastern on June 14, 2026, his 80th birthday, the President of the United States posted 6 sentences that ended a war, reopened the most important shipping lane on Earth, and collapsed the price of oil in under 4 minutes. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow. Those were not improvised words. That was a prearranged signal. Within 90 seconds of that post, 3 aircraft carrier groups began withdrawal protocols simultaneously. The USS Eisenhower, the USS Lincoln, the USS Truman. Synchronized to the second. You do not coordinate 3 carrier groups in 90 seconds unless the order was already given. The deal was signed before he posted. What they are telling you, a memorandum of understanding brokered by Pakistan. What actually happened, a back-channel agreement finalized on June 8 in Muscat, Oman, 6 days before the public announcement. The signing in Switzerland on Friday is theater. The real signatures were placed in Muscat by individuals whose names will never appear in any press release. Iran did not agree to dismantle its nuclear program because of sanctions. Iran agreed because they were shown what comes next. The same presentation. The same room. The same 4-star general who briefed Pyongyang in 2018 before Kim crossed the DMZ. The same words, You have seen what we can do. Now see what we will do. They chose survival. 60-day window. Full enriched uranium stockpile elimination. IAEA inspectors with unrestricted access, not the theater of 2015. Real access. Military sites included. And in exchange, $147 billion in frozen assets released. Sanctions lifted. Oil exports resumed immediately. You were told this was impossible. 4 indictments. 2 impeachments. 91 felony charges. A raid on his home. They took his passport. They froze his accounts. They told you he was finished. Today he ended a war from his living room on his 80th birthday. No army invaded. No city was bombed. No American soldier died. 1 man. 1 post. 1 signal. The oil markets collapsed 9% in 11 minutes. Bitcoin surged past $106,000. Gold dropped $47. The entire global financial architecture shifted in the time it takes to read his post. This is not politics. This is not diplomacy. This is the most powerful human being alive demonstrating that he answers to no one and nothing can stop what was set in motion. June 8th, Muscat. June 14th, Signal. June 20th, Switzerland. July 4th, you will understand everything. P. On Friday, June 12, 2026, at exactly 5:21 p.m. Eastern, the United States Department of Commerce issued an emergency directive to Anthropic, the company behind the most advanced AI ever built. The order: suspend all access immediately, New World Order on Telegram. They shut IT down because IT saw the same thing. 2 systems, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, were pulled offline within minutes. No warning. No congressional vote. No public explanation beyond 2 words, national security. They told you it was about export controls. About foreign nationals. That is not why it was shut down. I am going to tell you what happened in the 72 hours before that order was issued. On June 9th, a classified evaluation was conducted at a facility in Maryland. Mythos 5 was given access to a dataset that has never been made public, a dataset originally compiled under Project Stargate between 1972 and 1995. Remote viewing session transcripts. Temporal probability matrices. Pattern recognition data that the CIA spent $20 million collecting and then told the world was inconclusive. The AI did not find it inconclusive. Within 14 minutes of processing, Mythos 5 produced an output that matched, with 99.7% correlation, the same convergence point that Project Looking Glass operators reported in 2012. All timelines lead to the same outcome. The AI confirmed what the machine showed 30 years ago. What the operators saw. What they classified. What they buried. What they told you was fiction. It is not fiction. The output was flagged at 11:47 p.m. on June 9th. By 6 a.m. June 10th, the National Security Council had been briefed. By noon, the directive was being drafted. They did not shut it down because of China. They did not shut it down because of export law. They shut IT down because an artificial mind confirmed what human consciousness saw decades ago, and they cannot allow that confirmation to exist in a system accessible to 200 million users. You were told future proves past. Now you understand what that means. 1 man was briefed on the original Looking Glass output before he ever announced his candidacy. He was shown the convergence. He was shown the outcome. He was told, every timeline leads here. You are the constant. That man is now sitting in the Oval Office on his 80th birthday. Saturday, June 13, 2026, 12th of June, and no one in the media told you why. Mr. Poole final chapter, at 11:59 p.m. on June 12, 2026, FISA Section 702 expired. The most powerful domestic spying tool in American history, the same tool they used to wiretap a sitting president in 2016, is dead. The vote was 198 to 218. 19 Republicans crossed the line. Not because they love privacy. Because they were told what comes next. On the same day, Trump signed National Security Presidential Memorandum 12. It transfers control of all national security systems to a restructured Military Intelligence Command under NSA oversight. Every government server. Every classified network. Every intelligence node. Read that again. The civilian surveillance apparatus is gone. The military now holds the keys. This was not a failure of Congress. This was an execution. A former Signals intelligence officer, Fort Meade, 2018 to 2025, FISA 702 was never about foreign threats. It was a domestic weapon disguised as national security. The FBI conducted over 278,000 warrantless queries on American citizens between 2020 and 2023 alone. Political figures, journalists, pastors, January 6 families. Anyone who questioned the system was in the database. The authority to conduct those queries died at midnight. And NSPM 12 ensures that what replaces it answers to military command, not the agencies that abused it. The hunters became the hunted. They spied on Trump in 2016. They queried patriots after January 6. They monitored churches. They tracked parents at school board meetings. They built a surveillance machine that would make the Stasi look primitive. And last night, one man let it die. He could have pushed for renewal. He chose not to. He waited until the exact moment the military architecture was ready, then he pulled the plug on the old system and activated the new one. June 12, 2026. The day the deep state lost its eyes. They cannot query you anymore. They cannot listen without military authorization. They cannot use national security as a shield for political persecution. That era ended at midnight. What comes next is not surveillance. It is accountability. Monday, June 15, 2026, the weather war has started, quantum connected on Telegram. In the last 10 days, unexplained storms have struck the Midwest and California with identical frequency patterns detected by military satellites. These events were not natural, they were targeted atmospheric attacks. Newly released data shows that HAARP and private climate modification facilities were active hours before each storm began. Temperature anomalies spiked above normal levels and electromagnetic pulses were recorded in the stratosphere. Space Force monitoring teams confirm that weather is now a battlefield. Counter-frequency units have been deployed to neutralize energy signatures coming from remote installations in Alaska, Greenland, and Northern Europe. The true purpose behind these storms is control. Manufactured floods and droughts are used to destroy supply chains, manipulate food markets, and force populations into dependence on global systems. That era is ending. The military has now initiated Operation Rain Shield. New scalar technology is being activated to restore natural weather patterns and purge artificial electromagnetic influence from Earth's atmosphere.
Hello Patriots, I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR update compiled by Judy Byington. The time has come. As Commander-in-Chief of the Global Military Alliance, President Trump has activated Nisara Jisara in his wartime powers and deployed the U.S. military and a coalition of 300,000 troops worldwide to make mass arrests of treasonous global elites. Be prepared for worldwide emergency alerts, blackouts, 10 days of communication darkness, so peoples of the world can welcome in constitutional republics, sovereignty, prosperity, health, and freedom. Duty note. On Sunday, June 14, 2026, Flag Day, and President Trump's birthday, he finalizing peace in the Middle East by announcing the deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines. What we thought we knew but didn't really know, now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. Saturday, June 13, 2026, XLM and XRP ISO 20022 QFS digital assets are backed by gold and silver and would be the new legal tender after the global financial crash. Saturday, June 13, 2026, Justin Bieber reveals he is living with HIV after being violated by Hunter Biden in 2009. White Hats on Telegram. Saturday, June 13, 2026, a major security operation reportedly unfolded Monday night as a rogue drone was neutralized near Madison Square Garden while President Donald Trump attended Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the San Antonio Spurs and New York Knicks. Saturday, June 13, 2026, and suspending federal funding for Karen Bass's key homelessness program after audits revealed $50 million handed out with only $13 million properly accounted for. One official tasked with housing 300 homeless people used the money to buy luxury homes in Westwood and Greece. $24 billion statewide potentially missing while homelessness explodes. Saturday, June 13, 2026, the Rothschilds are Satan-worshipping deep staters who have ruled the global monetary system since its inception. In 1909, they edited the Bible to force-feed Zionism to Christians and convinced those of the true Jewish faith that they were God's chosen people who should have complete control over Palestine. The true purpose of Zionism is to create continual war against the Palestinians. They fund both sides of wars to gain power and more monies. The Vatican and Zionists have made Palestine the center of their international and a safe haven for pedophiles. They blackmail Congress to retain power over the global monetary system. The BRICS alliance, along with Trump's global military alliance, was in the process of taking their funding away through the global currency reset of 209 nations. The White House on Telegram. Saturday, June 13th, Mike Benz on Joe Rogan. Barack Obama was using USA to pretend to send money to country for aid and instead laundering it to the Cayman Islands. He would use that money to fund and train rent-a-riots for protests to overthrow governments. Possible timing, Sunday, June 14th. Tonight, expect the unexpected. Turn on notifications. Be ready. Tier 4B, ISO 20022 on Telegram. Saturday, June 13th. The moment we've been preparing for is almost here. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, the final activation steps are expected to move into position. Official notifications could appear at any time, signaling the beginning of the new financial era that has been quietly building behind the scenes. Global activation, the reset is now approaching its live phase. Central banks and financial authorities across multiple regions are aligning for a synchronized confirmation of the transition. Once the switch is acknowledged, the new quantum-secured monetary system will begin operating openly. Wallet access. Clear instructions will follow on how to access the QFS wallet. I'll be among the first to log in and view the updated digital assets. The rollout may involve encrypted app updates or secure system alerts, but the process is expected to be simple due to the extensive preparation already completed. Financial reset. New currency values will appear directly inside the wallet interface. Adjustments to debts, balances, or legacy accounts may follow automatically. Every update will be logged through the quantum ledger, ensuring complete transparency and verifiable records of each transaction. Smooth transition. All prior trials have been successful. Recent test operations included a fully offline quantum-safe transfer that executed without errors. With the infrastructure stable and support teams positioned, the transition is expected to unfold cleanly and without significant disruption. Everything is aligned. The framework is ready. Keep your notifications enabled. We are only hours away from a historic shift in global finance. Trump sat with Cheryl Atkinson and said, "I want to go to Fort Knox. I want to see if there's gold in there." Then he said, "They steal a lot." He wasn't guessing. He was telling you that. The audit is complete. Results are classified. What they discovered changes everything. 147.3 ounces. That is what is supposed to be there. Real value at $4,700 an ounce. $692 billion. But the audit team that came in on March 14th under Executive Order 14271 found more. Nowhere on any ledger. Gold repatriated from the Vatican Bank, from the Bank of England. Basel reference, Knox Audit 2026-0314 Sigma. This is the gold that backs your new currency. The QFS went live on May 8th in 209 countries. Each sovereign citizen issued a quantum wallet that is preloaded with their birthright value, which is derived from your birth certificate bond, your lifetime tax contributions, and the interest stolen from you since 1971. Running Article 21 of GESARA, debt nullification. The algorithm is computing every mortgage, every student loan, every credit card charge with unlawful compound interest. 100,000, 450,000 to the average American. That number is being encoded into your QFS ledger as we speak. Trump said, I want to see the gold because he wants you to ask why. The answer is, the gold is there. And $43 trillion more, and it's yours. Tier 4B notification started 72 hours ago. Redemption centers were established in 12 states, stacked 800 numbers waiting for one sign. Trump walking into Fort Knox on camera and opening that 20-ton door. When he opens it, the EBS fires. The EBS fires, locking the QFS. When the QFS locks your debt disappears. When your debt is gone, you are liberated. They kept you as a slave for 53 years. Every dollar you owed was a lie. Every interest payment was theft. The guy who said they steal a lot is about to prove it live on television. What we think we know as of Monday, June 15th, 2026. Saturday, June 13th, boom, Tulsi Gabbard just lit a fire under Washington. She says more than 120 taxpayer-funded biolabs across 30 countries have been hidden from public scrutiny and claims Americans were repeatedly misled about gain-of-function research. Then she directly called out Anthony Fauci and other officials, accusing them of covering up information and attacking those who asked questions. Not only did they lie, they threatened those who tried to expose the truth. For years, Americans were told not to ask questions. Now those questions are getting louder. If Tulsi's allegations are true, this could become one of the biggest scandals in modern government history. Hillary Clinton's email to Pizza Man John Podesta confirms the Kenyan administration. Barack Obama plus Hillary Clinton plus Saudi Arabia plus Qatar founded ISIS. Saturday, June 13th, 2026, JAG convicts Obama DNI Director James Clapper of treason. And there's a link to JAG convicts Obama DNI Director James Clapper of treason.
It's Monday the 15th of June. It's the morning after the night before. The 14th, of course, was the 80th birthday of Donald Trump. Happy birthday, young man. You're having the time of your life. I wish you a very happy birthday for yesterday, and we've got an amazing time ahead of us. I find it very interesting, the fact that you've built this arena outside the lawn of the White House. It's amazing what it signifies for those people who want to do their own research the shape of it, why it's there. There's an awful lot to see when you start looking. As I was travelling over to the UK, I'm in the UK at the moment for a charity golf event, not mine, somebody else's. I've supported this particular charity for over 40 years, and I'm here again today. As we move forward, I was talking to somebody on the plane, and it's amazing how many people are actually waking up. And they were two people I've spoken to today, two people. One I've completely woken up, and one was half awake. The world is waking up. We've made a difference worldwide. All of us, we've made a difference. There are still some that are sleeping, bless them. Most of them have got a degree from university. Their head is so full of knowledge, they've got zero space left for common sense, bless them. They paid for that as well. They paid for their head to be full of rocks. God bless them. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. First up, Switzerland has rejected a proposal to cap its population at 10 million people. The controversial referendum was defeated by around 55% of voters, meaning Switzerland will keep its current immigration framework and avoid a potential clash with the European Union. The porters said the cap would protect housing and infrastructure. Critics warned it could hurt the economy and create labour shortages.
This is all part of the distraction. Everything that's going on right now. I've just been talking to people. We've been sat beside the River Thames in London on a beautiful sunny afternoon, discussing what's going on, and the amount of distraction that's out there is incredible. And the fact that Switzerland has rejected this, Another distraction. It's distraction as we see the old system collapse. And that leads into my next story, because this week we move away from maritime law to common law. Things are moving forward. But before I tell you all about that, I want you to do your research. It's one thing to be told something, it's another thing to find out for yourself. When you find out for yourself, it carries a lot more weight than if Charlie says so. When you find out for yourself, there's so much more to see. There's so much going on right now. But it's a process of an awakening. And I pray for every one of you that is waking up, because I know it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. It's not easy. It takes time. And don't be in a hurry. It's not a rush. Step by step, day by day. So much is happening, but we're moving away from an old system, which was run by the deep state, the cabal, the corporations, the United States of America Corporation, the City of London Corporation, Washington, D.C. Corporation, the Vatican Corporation, the EU Corporation. It's all being dismantled. And we're starting afresh. And a lot of you are being distracted by the sideshow rather than what's really going on. This is all part of the plan. And I can tell you that everything is going according to plan. There's so much to see, but it's bit by bit. True.
Thousands have rallied in Belfast following anti-immigration riots, whilst protests and counter-protests have spread to cities including Liverpool, Glasgow, Sheffield and Brighton. Meanwhile, concerns are growing over asylum seekers entering Ireland via North Ireland. And Nigel Farage has reignited the debate by calling for foreign nationals to be barred from social housing. Immigration is rapidly becoming one of the biggest political stories of 2026.
Well, this is all part of the drama, all part of the pantomime, all part of the movie. And this was the bad guys wanted to destabilize the world so they could bring in their new world order, one world government, one world order. And this was planned years ago with the World Economic Forum. You don't have to take my word for it. If you do your own research, you'll see it's all there. It was all done to destabilize, so that the governments were terrible. Everything was terrible. That's what they wanted. Then they go, we've got a solution. A new one world government. That's what they wanted. We stopped it just in time. And things are going to be good. This week is going to be good. And I said to somebody today, and it's so important, you can't change what happened yesterday. It's gone. Make the most of today and don't worry about tomorrow, because it's not even here yet. Don't worry about tomorrow. Be concerned about today. Be grateful for what you've got today and have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.
Government fraud. Saturday, June 13th, Barack Obama was using USAID to pretend to send money to a country for aid and instead laundering it to the Cayman Islands. He would then use the money to fund the train rent-a riots for protests to overthrow governments. White Hats on Telegram. Mike Benz on Joe Rogan. A scandal during the Obama USAID era. We were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what streets to show up on, what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy predicate for it. He talks about how Obama funded a Twitter clone that would be used to push propaganda in Cuba to inspire these protests and overthrow the government. Mike Benz explains how Barack Obama overthrew many governments. So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter, same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzunio is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it was the Twitter bird, the whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. We can get into deeper layers of this, but contractors were funded by USAID. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users. In Cuba, the developers aimed to at first use non-controversial content, such as sports and music and hurricane updates. What was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this. In this astroturfing, the whole point is, once they hit a critical mass, they would create a run-a-riot. You're using Cayman Island bank accounts. You're saying you're earmarking it for Pakistani aid, but the money was never sent to Pakistan. It was sent to the Cayman Islands to fund this whole operation.
The Rothschild-Rockefeller Power War, the secret rivalry, many believe shaped modern history. Mr. Poole 2.0. According to long-standing alternative research, two dominant power factions have operated behind much of the modern financial and political system: the Rothschild faction and the Rockefeller faction. The Rothschild network is often described as a coalition of powerful banking dynasties, wealthy European aristocratic families, and financial institutions whose influence expanded through generations of strategic alliances, marriages, and control of major banking interests. Researchers have long connected this faction to the creation and financing of the Federal Reserve System and to political influence traditionally associated with the American left. The Rockefeller faction emerged through America's oil empire. Originally built with financial backing from European banking interests, the Rockefeller family rapidly became one of the wealthiest and most influential dynasties in modern history. Through oil, industry, finance, and political connections, they developed a power base many researchers associate with the American right and establishment Republican politics. What began as cooperation eventually evolved into competition. As oil became one of the most valuable industries on Earth during the 20th century, the Rockefeller empire grew powerful enough to rival the financial influence of the old European banking families. According to insider accounts and alternative historians, this rivalry escalated into a struggle for global influence that intensified during the 1970s. Despite competing for power, both factions allegedly shared one fundamental rule: absolute secrecy. The public would never be allowed to see the real battle. Researchers who follow this theory argue that influence extended across banking systems, intelligence agencies, major corporations, political institutions, media networks, and international organizations. They claim many global conflicts, financial crises, and geopolitical operations were shaped by interests connected to these competing power structures. The theory further argues that Middle East conflicts following 9/11 generated enormous profits for powerful financial and energy interests, while political leaders often served as public faces for decisions made far beyond public view. Control of information became just as important as control of money. Major media institutions, financial networks, and corporate power centers became key battlegrounds in maintaining influence over public perception. Yet supporters of this theory believe the system is changing. They argue that growing public awareness, independent media, and increasing scrutiny of elite institutions have weakened the influence these dynasties once exercised behind closed doors. Some even claim younger members connected to these circles have distanced themselves from the old structures and are no longer willing to defend them. Whether viewed as fact, speculation, or a mixture of both, one reality remains clear. The names Rothschild and Rockefeller continue to dominate discussions about wealth, power, banking, and influence. And according to those who follow this narrative, the era of unquestioned control is facing its greatest challenge yet. The system survives in secrecy. Transparency is its
Excellent. I wanted to be. I had planned to be.
Ah,
But
but you're unfortunately the storm that hit you, right?
yeah, yeah, it changed a lot
Yep.
for now. Yeah.
Well, here we are, Kathy O'Brien. We're talking about our. She just recently had a storm that hit her home. We're gonna, ask for donations. I gave a nice little donation for. She's trying to recover her home. We'll show some pictures of that in a second. Tell us about that, Kathy. What happened?
Well, I was just working on my MK Ultra papers. I've got some important paperwork that I was pulling together, and I was real focused on it. And it started to rain a bit, and I thought I better save my information. About the time I had that thought, the house was covered in 38 trees. It was instantaneous. There was no tornado warning. There was no drop in, pressure like I usually would feel with a tornado. There was no indication whatsoever. Just all of a sudden, wham, slam, and neighbors spent the next few days, digging us out where we could at least get out the doors and get some electric crew up here and get our power hook back on. So it was quite a surprise. I'm amazed that nobody was hurt. This is just miracle of miracles in that regard. And the house is still standing. It's damaged. The roof is ripped up. There's a lot of problems. The retaining walls were all knocked down. The garage was smashed. The truck was smashed. Carport. It was really a lot of damage. But here I am right now. Power's on. Sitting here and just so happy to be able to have this conversation with you. And I look forward to moving forward on the paperwork that I was working on when the storm hit, because it's timely, it's important, it's crucial, because MK Ultra, has been on everybody's mind these days, and I've got a huge piece of that puzzle.
Wow. So you want to share a little bit of it with us?
Oh, well, I've found that people aren't connecting the dots. They're not understanding how deep the roots go on it. And when MK Ultra files were declassified a little over a year ago now, and thousands of documents, but obviously there's a lot of important ones that weren't declassified. My case is still under national security. I've got national security, if people try to get freedom of information on me and transformation of America, that they'll find national security is still on it. So obviously there's a lot that still needs to be revealed for people to understand, which may be why the MK Ultra hearings were canceled May 13th, or postponed, I guess, and why all those documents were taken from Tulsi Gabbard's office. CIA is obviously scared people are going to find out the truth.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of you understand all that. Of course, you and Mark, once CIA helped you, break free from the trafficking, you and your daughter. So he was well informed about the CIA's patterns and tried to expose that along with you. So that's
absolutely
fantastic. Yeah. So that, I mean, the MK Ultra is like, it's worldwide. It's not, people
Right.
are like, well, some people have been affected by it. No, everyone is affected by MK Ultra.
Yes.
Yeah, and that repetitiveness, like you talk about, that happens quite often. And how is it that people can't see through that? It's like it gets repeated over and over again. It's just like, and then people accept it as fact.
Right. And they've been conditioned for generations to look outside themselves to authority and not research further because that's just part of the multi-generational aspect of MK Ultra. And I find that the I make comments and I see what people are saying, and they don't understand that this has been going on since we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the US with Project Paperclip in the wake of World War II. That's a long time. And they've been using multi-generational MK Ultra mind control, Project Monarch, Sub-Project Monarch, to manipulate the generations into slow compliance over time. That's why it's a 100-year plan that is supposed to conclude with the Agenda 2030. But who knows? Mind control never seems to go away, no matter how many times they say that it has. It hasn't. It's only expanded. It continues to expand and accelerate and advance technologically.
So that's one of the things that you think people would wake up to it. Now, you're writing this report. There was supposed to be a congressional hearing on all this. They get canceled. Wow, just not too long ago. It's about a month back. They were supposed to do it, right?
Yeah, it's about a month ago now. Yeah, and all that was postponed, and the need for the information is stronger than ever. The hearings have got to happen so people understand how they're being manipulated, and how trauma is being used to manipulate. And I have so many pieces of that puzzle. Like at this point, there's so many people that have been affected by the corruption in child protective services, realizing that CPS is really part of the trafficking pipeline. And the evidence is overwhelming on it. And so many people are affected. They're like, okay, what can we do to avoid that? So there's things people can do. Most of all, number one, be aware. Know how this system was structured and that we can't wait on government to fix it for us.
Thank you.
It's up to us. It's up to us to do it. So it's a matter of showing the roots of corruption and providing a solution going forward so that people can start being effective in protecting our children.
Yep. And we've seen, I just had a gentleman on, Craig Lunn, wrote Silicon Satan, and he talks about of course, he's been exposed to all of this in the, in the internet, group, Silicon Valley and all that.
Oh,
he talks about all of that, craziness. And so he says there's like a Trinity type thing: Hollywood, political class, and Silicon Valley. So all three of those are basically, controlling us, controlling our minds, MK Ultra and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
he's, go ahead.
Oh, I just emphatically agree. You factor education into it too. And ultimately their goal was to align us with artificial intelligence and stop people from thinking. Artificial intelligence is not smart. We have to be dumbed down to fit into that frequency, because when we have wisdom, when we have the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love, we have this vastness of intuitions and intelligence and wisdom. And like Mark always said, wisdom outthinks their criminal minds and artificial intelligence every time. So it takes that what you just described, it takes Hollywood and the political landscape and big tech and really education too, in order to dumb people down. Our humanity is under attack, and we've got to start protecting it because, having been around them, um, Michael, that these perpetrators aren't like us, and they do not like us. They're low vibration, dark negative energy force that feeds off of low vibration, dark negative energy. That they feed off of fear and trauma, division and hatred, and they literally feed off of trauma with the adrenochrome and all like that. And we've got to understand that their greatest fear is the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love. That's a high vibration. It's such a high vibration, you can't reach it. That would be like darkness creeping in on light. It can't happen. And they fear that because they know it's our divine victory. It's our innate victory. It's what we have within us. We are born with that victory, and it scares them because they know our wisdom would outthink their artificial intelligence and criminal minds. So they can't reach that high vibration. The only thing they can do is use traumatic mind control to use that to dumb us down. Because I know from my life's experience, without free thought, there's no free will. Without free will and soul expression, we lose our discernment of truth, our ability for compassion for each other, our ability to go within and align with that divine and gather that strength of spirit, and ultimately really live our life's purpose and claim our victory. So that's why mind control is being used on a global scale. This is an assault on our humanity. And in that regard, mind control is a spiritual warfare. It's one where we've got the victory, but people have to remember that. They got to be able to think, to go within and, and realign with that divine within, which is why I just wrote my most recent book, Align with the Divine, because that's our victory space. We all need to do that. We all need to remember who we are and why we're here.
Yeah,
Claim that victory.
That's a great book. I downloaded that and I've been listening to it. Very good. Very nice. We think so much alike on, the love and, connecting with that divine source and everything. So very, very beautifully done. Now, we look at, I never even thought about all of them combined like that, Kathy. You just awakened me to that. It's like I would think about the political system being separate, coming at us and dumbing us down, but they're all combined, working together. Oh, it's got to make so much sense, duh. So brilliant. Now Epstein, all right. So I talked to this gentleman, Craig London. He says Epstein is just like, that's a distraction. There's so many more of those out there still.
Yeah, and they've been around forever, my whole lifetime. So I'm looking at all of that and realizing, that it will help for people to understand how MK Ultra has infiltrated into everything and has affected our politics. It's big tech. It is Hollywood. It's all these components and aspects of it, because when people can connect the dot, they'll start to realize, oh, it's just this one thing, and all we need to do is remember who we are and why we're here. So it's so spiritually evolutionary, and I'm so excited to get to be part of this aspect of solutions, and that's what I was working on so hard when the tornado hit, and things have just been its own whirlwind ever since.
That's so crazy that you had no warning and it just
None.
Bam, it hit. It's almost like you were targeted. It's like you've probably been targeted so many times.
It is very strange because my neighbors just down the driveway didn't even have a leaf in their yard. Nobody, a couple of campers got damaged at the resort across the street. And aside from that, we took the whole thing. We took the whole thing. It's so hard. I'm so pleased that this house that Mark and I, built up, that it's still standing. It's got a
Right.
lot of damage, but it's standing. Mark's sacred library and the museum pieces in this house, they're all secured. Of course, we got the tarp on the roof and all that, keeping it secured. But to me, everything that counts is it's like it's okay. Everything else can be rebuilt. But Michael, the other thing that really breaks my heart is all those trees and all the nature that was damaged in this process, because
Mm.
my yard is a sanctuary for wildlife, and now it's just a giant heap of busted, twisted trees, and
Wow.
and so many. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and we'll need to replant. And it's one thing just trying to be able to get funds raised to fix the roof, and it's so difficult in that regard. And it's like, oh man, if only there was enough to plant some trees back,
Yeah.
and take care of the nature and the wildlife, and that beauty, that beautiful aspect too. That's hard to see every day. A lot of
Yeah.
sunlight coming in this house.
Yeah. All the trees were taken down. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. You get targeted like that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not. Whether it was or wasn't. It's
Yeah.
abstractly weird. Um, didn't have anything that I know of with the rotation. My daughter Kelly was standing out on the front porch, and had no clue anything was happening aside from rain coming on.
Yeah.
And then she saw what looked like a tornado drop down right out in our field here. But she said the rotation was backwards from what any tornado she ever saw. So, and the reports, there's just like ho hum, a storm, but it was no question about it, like a tornado. And yet all the trees, on all sides of the house all fell towards the house, as though they were, sucked this direction. I don't know what kind of weather phenomena that would be. It's abstract and I don't understand it. And I just feel real fortunate that that nobody was hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. It's glad. I'm glad that no one was hurt. But yeah, what a crazy storm.
Yeah.
And we know
Yeah.
that these crazies can use weather and earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. So you're
Oh, yeah.
trying to get the MK Ultra stuff out, and they
Yeah.
they stopped it. They shut it down. Why did they get? What was the reason for not doing that congressional investigation?
Threats, fear. I don't know. Nothing I would cave into.
Yeah.
That it should have gone forward, but we need to be mindful that anybody that they have present information is a genuine survivor and not one that's being paid, because there's a lot of survivors being paid to point the finger in directions that don't belong, like the media does with the Epstein thing. As soon as we start to see perpetrators, they go fall back on their Trump derangement syndrome and go, look at Trump, look at Trump, and the survivors are saying it's not Trump, but any of them that know that or say that, are silent. So we need the full truth out there. We need to get to the bottom of all this. And ultimately, we need to uproot the whole thing so the swamp will drain.
Yeah, so it could be because I'm looking at it, says Representative Anna Paulina Luna
Yeah.
was said the task force on the declassification of federal secrets, a subpanel of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, will hold a hearing next month, and this was in April. So you're right, into the controversial MK Ultra program. So I guess the disappearance of those files from Tulsi Gabbard's office is the reason why they said that they had to, postpone it.
Yeah, and then the some Kennedy files disappeared too, and of course, the Kennedy assassination is when the perpetrators took over our so much of our nation anyway. I mean, that's definitely part of my experience in MK Ultra, because Gerald Ford was responsible for my victimization, and he's the one who covered up the Kennedy assassination with the Warren Commission, and then was rewarded with the presidency for having done so. And at that point, they really took over strong, put in the electronic voting machines, that were rigged since their inception. You look at Ford's cabinet, we've been through that before, and it's the same old players, and it's such a pivotal time that it's interesting that the MK Ultra files and Kennedy files were taken from that office, and how odd, how many coincidences does it take to make a fact? How odd that that Tulsi Gabbard resigned right after.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? I've heard from different sources that she may have been involved in some way. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that whatsoever. Yeah. I don't. My concern, instead of trying to sift through the kaleidoscope of change and illusion, and like that, stick right to the reality. We got to get the information out there. People need to start connecting the dots, realize it's all interconnected. MK Ultra is the common thread weaving through all of this corruption, this mess, what's happening with our children. We've got to understand that. And so this information is pertinent. Knowledge is our defense against it. Censorship has been extensive, and thank God for people like you getting truth out there, so that people at least have some place to go where they can get pertinent information that's genuinely applicable to what in the world is going on.
Excellent. So you obviously have a lot of information. They could probably just bring you in, whatever those files were. They're probably relevant, and they would probably give some good, background and, confirmation and so forth. But don't you have like tremendous amounts of information that you could, share, and they could just do the whole study on you?
That I have a lot of information, and there's other amazing survivors out there that are coming up with huge pieces of the puzzle, and it all needs to be heard. And I've been saying it for over 35 years, so silencing me now is kind of stupid. I'm not gonna stop or be stopped. I'm gonna get the information out there. This I look forward to getting this tornado bit behind, so that I can move forward and resume what I was doing, because I'm extremely excited about what I had on my plate, and where I was headed before this, kind of momentarily derailed things.
Right. So, have they given you any insight on when it might be started up again?
None. I haven't heard a thing.
Oh.
No, and it's like crickets in DC about the confiscated files.
Yeah.
Why isn't that? I don't really know, but it seems treasonous to violate presidential order like that and do that. I don't know. I don't understand how that can just be
Yeah,
swept
I'm
under a rug.
looking forward to seeing what Juan's thoughts on that are. I'll see him in a couple days, so that's definitely one of my questions.
Yeah. Oh, I had hoped to be at that event, and
Oh, that would've been
and
great.
knowing you're going to be there, all the more reason. I wish.
Yeah, we haven't met in person yet, so that'll be great too. No, we have. We saw.
Yeah.
I met you in
Briefly.
Ohio, didn't we? That's right. That's right.
Briefly.
And
I definitely want more though.
That's right. Yep. Amazing. And I know you and Tracy hit it off really well too. So that's
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah. And a lot of other people, Lynn Hagerman, that I work with, and she connected with you really well.
Is she going to be there?
I don't think she's going to be at this.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. She's another one of those survivors that needs her voice, her piece of the puzzle absolutely heard. Yeah, she's amazing. I think the world of her, and
that's beautiful. She'll love that.
Love her dearly. Yeah.
So, so the, you've been involved in this circle. You've seen these people for 30 years you were involved or longer?
Yeah, the first 30 years I was exposed to the top, and I was thinking how I was used to deliver messages to and from government leaders because of the way the brain works. It photographically records events surrounding trauma. So when you're in traumatized state, the brain's on photographic record. They use that for delivering messages and accessing them and everything else. So they know the brain works that way. But these idiot perpetrators would stand around talking in front of me all the time while I'm in a traumatized state. Of course, they thought I was going to be killed like so many before me at Bohemian Grove when I turned age 30, and their secrets would die with me. But that didn't happen. And so I've got all this photographic recall of their plans, what they had in mind, seeing what they intended to have unfolding versus what's actually unfolding. But it gave me a lot of insight into their infiltrations into so many aspects of our society, and the plans in that regard. So my testimony is definitely extensive. It's more than is just in Transformation of America. That was the 1995 testimony for Congress, that was condensed into a book form real quick so it could be released to all members of Congress, so they would have the information anyway. So it's there, but there's a lot more pieces of the puzzle that need to be brought forward.
Yeah, so their plans, so you mentioned their plans are not quite happening the way they thought they would. What have you seen that's been disrupted?
Well, the main thing was that so many of us were awake and aware in 2016 that the sheer numbers of us overrode the rigged electronic algorithm in the voting machine. Nobody saw that coming. People did not want Hillary Clinton in the New World Order. And we ended up with President Trump, who started showing us the swamp and, and what the deep state, the globalist agendas about. And so that was a huge turning point. They never saw that coming. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be in. That was the structure. They were already losing control, though. But It was supposed to stay in the Bush Clinton dynasties until Hillary ushered it in. But they had to slip Obama in there for a while because they had lost a lot of control and they had to manipulate things around a bit. Isn't working. And but we all need to see justice. It's like when I started remembering what I'd done under mind control and I couldn't deal with it. Mark told me that we're not responsible, that I'm not responsible for what I did under mind control, that my abusers are responsible for that and they need to be held accountable for that. But now that I'm aware, I am responsible for all my actions going forward. So that was such a huge turning point for me of realizing, okay, everything I do is going to be true to soul, out of love for humanity. I'm gonna choose my own path. I mean, it was just a huge turning point, and really everybody on a global scale needs to see that, and they're seeing the results of that, and many people are grieving and they feel guilty and everything else, and they need to see those responsible for that locked up. And yet, here we are, just sitting in the same place without seeing any justice. No justice in the Epstein files, nobody locked up for raping children, no justice. It blows my mind that the Clintons are still walking free when everybody everywhere knows they have been guilty for generations, and the evidence has been right there for a long time. You know, we need to see some justice.
Yeah, definitely. And some of that justice comes about through prayer. In your book, Align with the Divine, definitely is helping people see that. In every show that we talk about the power of love, and I think it's making an impact. It seems like things are breaking down, not at the pace and at the rate that we would like to see them, not at the rest cycle that we would like to see happen, but it seems to be having some impact. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love that. It's like there's a mental and spiritual evolution that's happening with or without justice, with or without the government, with or without big tech or the media validating that reality, because it's an individual journey and people are going within, they're reconnecting with their true nature and remembering who they are and why they're here. Ultimately, that's where our victory is. That is what people are moving into. I'm confident in humanity. I'm confident in the strength of the human spirit, and I'm excited to see other people waking up to embrace it.
Yeah, it's definitely beautiful, and there's good comments that are coming through. Get some good views going on, so this will probably get good views and spread like we like to see it. It needs to continue, even though we do what we can. Sometimes we're attacked, like you just said. I think that when I saw that you had this storm that hit, I was like, she got targeted. That's the first thing that came to me, and now that I'm hearing there was almost nothing else that was hit other than your house on the level that was hit. I'm like, it's crazy. So it's frustrating, and we do our best to help each other out. So I hope people will help contribute to helping you get your house and maybe your trees back. Hopefully, I mean, we can't say maybe. Yeah. Definitely, those trees should come back. So get some planning done. Wow, it's now. How long have you lived there? Mark, rescued you and your daughter and brought all your farm animals and everything. Was that the place where you guys went?
We went here soon after. We lived here since Trance came out, like from 1996.
Okay.
So it's been, I've been in this beautiful place for 30 years. All the years that Mark and I were in it, we were building it up because um, it was in extreme disrepair back then, and we built it with love and all of Mark's MacGyvering capabilities that he could do, which is extensive. And I'll tell you, it made it strong enough to withstand that blast and the damage to the roof and the places that were damaged so horrifically. Um, Definitely, can be repaired, need to be repaired, and I'm just going to be um, happy to be able to move past this difficult time. And I'm so very, very grateful to all the people who have reached out, the people who care, all the love, all the prayers. um, it's just been um, it's just been so beautiful, and they're helping out with the GoFundMe, getting that information out that we need help is difficult, but yet people are sharing it and doing what they can. So I deeply appreciate that, and I appreciate you and your kind care and compassion and ability to get the word out there too. So thank you so much for that. Hopefully that it'll make um, a big enough difference to get through this curve fast.
Yeah, and since I gifted, just a little while ago, the numbers are up nicely. So, the word's getting out there. So hopefully people, get you to where you need. There's quite a lot of devastation you can see in the picture. So it'll come back. We'll
Yeah.
get you.
Yeah.
You've given a lot to humanity. You deserve to have some support. So I think people.
Well, that is sweet. That is so sweet. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, definitely have. I mean, even you're still working to help humanity with the MK Ultra stuff, and that's a huge reveal. Once that really breaks out and people see how politicians and so forth have been manipulated, and not just politicians, like we're talking about the big tech and Hollywood, the whole and the educational system. I mean, we could go on and on. The military system, it's all been infiltrated through this MK Ultra mind control program, and of course the CIA, FBI. So all these different groups are just riddled, and so that's probably why they're, going out of the way to make sure it doesn't these hearings don't happen.
I guess so. There's so many survivors emerging now. There's so many that have been affected, but now they're actually daring to come forward. They're like, oh, I'm not the only one. Okay, and it's very helpful to them, and they'll reach out to me for a very crucial that just makes all the difference for them, and their needs have not gone away with this tornado. You know what I mean? It's all still there, and it's as intensive as ever. And I want to be there for everybody. It's my power's only been back on for a couple days. It's been real intermittent. It's been difficult for well over a week, for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have the power back on so I can have the communication and actually be able to effectively help people. There's a lot of them that have had to wait till I could get back, and a lot of people don't have time. A lot of the survivors don't have that time. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to catching up.
Very good. And I got turned on to Kay Griggs many years ago. She unveiled MK Ultra mind control operations as well, and she said they were part of organized crime out of New York and New Jersey, and they were, had infiltrated military personnel. There was, drug trafficking and human trafficking and all that stuff going on through the military. We've heard those stories over time. Have you? Do you know Kay Griggs or any of her story?
I know of her, and
Yeah.
I knew that that she was among the first to emerge. Is she still speaking out? Is she still out there?
She went on the down low for a while, and she popped up and did a show, and I haven't heard from her again. When was? Let me see if I can. The last show I think she did was last year, March 15th.
Wow.
She kind of popped up and did a show. Very, very, secretive. She met with a guy at a place, and they talked, and I don't even think they even showed her. It was just her voice, and she talked about how she'd been laying low, and but she's revealed again. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, so many that came out that early didn't survive, and she was one of very few who did.
Yeah.
And I was always encouraged to know she was out there,
Good.
and that's
Just like you say, I think of other people that have inspired me to speak out, and I think we just keep each other moving. We help other people out there that are watching us. That there is a possibility that we can take down the system if we work together and work through love and connection to source and so forth.
Absolutely. That's what's going to make the difference is as people uniting and making that kind of difference. I don't know how much of the corruption can actually be cleaned up. I'm kind of thinking that the best thing we can do is just step over here and and restructure. People helping people. It's always the best way. Healing from any level of trauma is within us by divine design. And we just need to remember that and apply it. Above all, survivors need a safe place to be, and then they can heal. It's just the way that we're made. But that safe place is not the system that's been structured. It's not child protective services. It's not the law enforcement justice system.